my brother stay with them. Yep. So my dad got a 3-point buck and Steve got a 4-point buck.
It looked like it was bigger than that. Steve, that was from the picture. I was like,
Oh, he wasn't, they were very fat. They had a ton.
because a point is something you can hang a ring on, without it's taught in
It's-
Ohio, right?
It's more than an inch off of the.
An inch?
Yep.
Okay.
Down to the point, yeah.
That's a little different standard.
Yeah, it's Colorado's definition. Yes. But yes, they were both very nice and
Yeah.
fat
Awesome.
and ready for a cold winter. So.
Hmm. That's cool, congratulations.
It was good to get away. You were on top of that mountain and the damn phone worked. I had to turn it off. I was like, this is not right.
Oops. Kids would like to.
That's a tough one.
There's it could get for you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. My boys don't play on the phone or the computer.
That's good.
Yeah, they don't get to play technology.
I was watching one last night. I was sure it was what I think out of school like you have to do today.
Right.
In order to be the best, you gotta beat the best.
They say that coal, which is produced.
Yes. You have to be all educated. That's why I'm trying. It's huge when the first game on the road.
For sure. I think with baseball, the best pitcher in the regular season is often the best pitcher in the postseason. A little different dynamic.
It's very good, Mary.
Yes, thank you.
Delicious.
Who makes the pickles?
No,
Oh,
I opened the jar by myself though. Does that count?
yeah.
Janet, is there,
I gave up pickles.
we're supposed to return the volleyball jerseys.
Yeah, we'll have an end of season
Okay.
banquet, but there's one team who's still playing games.
Oh,
So,
gotcha. My wife was asking.
and actually Spencer says the goal is to transition to doing t-shirts that the kids can keep. Probably just let the kids keep them.
Okay.
There's development, there's a career town. There is. So, my mother, my wife and Spencer's mother have bonded to some degree.
And the hookers and knockers club.
There's 7 of them.
Well, they've got two great clubs over there, the Huffers and Puffers, the Stuffers.
Yes.
Well, I thought I'd be lucky to get them to come to one day of that. They want 3 days a week of it.
Oh, nice.
I said, well, we can't monopolize the room, it's gonna be keyless entry soon, and then people can come and go whenever they want. So we can't consume too much time.
Grab some grills there, Nick.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary.
So, I make a motion, we adjourn. All in favor? Motion
Well,
passed.
I'll tell you.
Well, the food's not gone, so we can't adjourn just yet.
You can still stay and eat.
This little secret here, I'll try and have this short and sweet tonight.
Nice.
Ooh, I like your secrets.
Good.
There's no reason. I was telling Diane and Janet, I told Carl and David last year, I said, all these line items don't change, so we're just gonna focus on the change.
I did my homework.
Jen, I was talking years ago when I started, what she went through me is they went through every single line, had a 5-minute conversation, like, no. Everybody has a copy of that budget.
How many months were they here?
What's that?
How many months were they here?
Well, and our problem was everyone was all, like, let's have a big group hug, and this is gonna be so wonderful, we don't wanna tell anyone no, and we'd get 2/3 of the way through the budget, and then the light bulb would turn on for someone to say, we've just spent like 3 times more than we actually have. We have to make some cuts somewhere, and then they were like, okay, let's start back from the beginning.
Yep,
And it was like, no.
well, and the dynamic is very different too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And now they don't actually really have a budget meeting now.
It's like
That
that.
board just accepts whatever Helen says and goes with it. Okay. That's what you think.
Kind of what Will County does.
Oh, wow.
They have
That guy has been there forever though, and he's amazing.
the commissioner's trust, and he puts together.
Not that you're not. I didn't mean it that way.
There you go, Mayor.
So you're saying that's an option?
Yes, sorry.
Man, welcome back to vacation.
Majority of them have been here forever. There's a difference.
Yeah, it's still a newbie.
So he just does it and they just approve it.
Even Claude, I mean, he used to work with the county and pull up, and they give the board a 1-page snapshot of each fund.
Mhm.
And with the bottom line, focusing on what the differences are, then they just move on. Will County does their budget one day.
Wow, with all the departments.
Yeah, they schedule, I've seen their schedule
Long
before,
day.
they have a 15 to 30-minute, depending on the size of the budget for each one. They come in, and of course, the commissioners get the budget in advance, so you just have questions, and they'll move on.
Oh, okay.
I think the difference with that though too is that's their job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're there full
So-
time,
yep.
Yeah.
so they're meeting with them every day,
Right.
so.
Yeah, that's not a volunteer position.
Well, wait a few minutes for help, a couple updates from last week. I sent Kendra a couple of things. The board talked about wages a little bit, not specifically, but a wage policy for employees. So I sent that to Kendra to draft up a basic policy for the board to look at for November 19th, on November 5th, study session. And then also on the mayor and the trustee salary discussion. So those will be coming up at some point. I'm going to start with Janet, with Rec and Seniors. You called last Wednesday, we went to the general fund line with Rec and Seniors. Then go into the library fund with Diane. Ice Ski did tonight, we had a family issue to take care of, but I'll present most of those items. I will hold off on the capital improvement fund and the sidewalk maintenance fund until next Tuesday. So our meeting next week is not Wednesday, it's Tuesday, because they remind me that there's the county town
The
meal
county dinner, yeah.
When's that, on Wednesday?
That's the dinner, yeah.
on Wednesday, so our next budget, probably the last budget session will be next Tuesday at 6:30 here. And it'll be capital projects and then sergeant wage. So the capital improvement fund's how it's done next week. So I'm gonna wait till Jen has a full plate of food in her mouth.
Perfect. We thought just like chug some soda, so the first thing that comes out is just, that'll be good.
Bravo.
I told Janet, you know, everybody's different, you guys are pretty lax, so just, I'll scroll through and do high point. This is a new year, because as the board knows from last year, we combined the departments basically, Rec and Seniors in one. Jan's the director for both oversight, but for paper reasons, we kept the Rec and Senior budget separately. So, and normal salaries and wages really haven't been discussed yet, and basically everything up until the operations. David Green puts in the numbers from the CIRSA quotes, from the health insurance quotes, and you guys will talk about salaries next week. So starting with concession stands going down, Janet.
Concessions should really be something that generates revenue for us, not have a lot of expense. Your expense is gonna come in the form of, your employees, but it should generally, everything that you're selling should, at a minimum, be recovering its cost, if not probably a multiple of its cost. Typically, if a candy bar costs 40 cents for us to buy it from Sam's Club, we're gonna sell it for $1. Pretty consistent. There are some things that we were selling that I think we were underpricing. And so I think we'll probably increase prices next year, and have some concession stuff at football, that when we have football, and then talk to the schools about possibly having it at the schools when we host games. They've just become a little bit more protective of the carpet, and they're getting the gyms at the middle school refinished over Christmas break, so they may tighten that up as to what can be in the gym and what can't be. But I think, it's an opportunity. There are some teams that are there a long time. So, and basically concessions it's not a big ticket item. And I'm happy to answer any questions. If you have specific questions on anything, I'm happy to answer those for you.
So with the increase of some, you just pretty much going across the board matching what retail normally is, the concessions. It sounded like you had like some that were on point and some that were really low, so you're losing
Right.
money, just bringing everything up so it's all on point then.
Right, and looking at what the other communities around us, I mean, I'm not gonna price it the same as 7-Eleven. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, if it's the same price as 7-Eleven, they'll just go to 7-Eleven because they have way more variety. But, I mean, $1 for a hot dog, while you're still making money on that $1 for the hot dog, everyone else is charging $2 or $3 for it. So it doesn't make sense to give it away. I mean, you should ultimately be trying to generate revenue on your concession stand.
I think it's $1.50 at 7-Eleven, so
Mm-hmm.
we're rated.
Yeah.
I'm going there again.
You'll notice that, rec equipment, it went down slightly, mostly because I think Reggie and Gordon did a really good job before they left of making sure that we had equipment, to start with, plus they let the coaches keep a lot of the equipment. So now that I asked people to bring stuff back and to turn it in so that we could have an inventory, we really have a lot. It's a matter right now of going through stuff and sorting it out and saying, okay, this helmet is too old, the inside is falling out, or these basketballs are too slick, we need to get new basketballs. For the most part, that's the other benefit of the relationship that we have with the school district. For all of our sports that are 3rd through 8th grade, essentially, the school lets us use their equipment. So we don't have to provide 10 basketballs for every team. We provide, we replace 6 balls a year for them, versus if we have 10 teams, 10 balls per team. I mean, it saves us on storage space, it saves us on having to maintain equipment. Coaches appreciate not having to carry 10 balls in their car. That's a huge pain. So, so that is why that number went down. For uniforms, it is slightly up, and I had mentioned this to Troy, because some of the items on there are are higher. I budgeted everything at what I figured the max number of participants that we could have. I don't believe in spending it because it's there. I'm a huge proponent of you only spend what you need. And so if we don't have that many teams come out, we definitely won't have that same cost in what things are. I have looked at going to t-shirts versus uniforms. The uniforms save money because you only have to buy them once every 3 years. Unfortunately, not everyone takes as good of care of them as they should. And so a lot of times what happens is you're replacing stuff that someone didn't take care of. Or with the softball and baseball uniforms, I would say only about 1/3 of the participants actually returned their uniforms. And 1/3 of the third that came back is not usable. So we will do more than just a t-shirt for softball and baseball. Those 2 sports, for the number of games that they play and the fact that those two sports are more physical, for lack of better words. I mean, they have more contact with the ground. They need to be able to take more wear and tear. We would do something a little bit nicer, but we won't be providing pants or anything like that. They'll get a shirt and a hat. We definitely don't think it's too much. If a parent has a financial situation where they couldn't afford to go and get pants, and shoes, you know, we could figure out something to help them out, but, I personally don't think that at the rec level, that's something that we should be providing for them. Trophies and awards. I don't know if Troy mentioned this to you, I'm definitely 100% not a participation award person. I also am not a person who's willing to just throw something away because I don't support doing that. So there's enough trophies, or not trophies, but medals to get us at least through this upcoming year, maybe one more year. There's a lot of medals in there. So I just plan on using those until they run out, filling in what we need just to get by. And then once they're gone, that's it.
So their t-shirt is their participation.
Their t-shirt is their participation award. They'll get a certificate, and we'll still do the end of season banquet with them. Because I think that's a nice way to acknowledge the coach and thank the coach for their time, and thank the parents for the time that they've committed to bringing their kids to practice and to the games. I just don't see the need of giving them a medal for everything that they do.
My kids lose their medals right away, but they love their t-shirts. They don't lose their
Right.
t-shirts.
Right, and they can wear their t-shirt to school, and other leagues that I've played in, the kids actually at the end of the season bring Sharpies and everyone signs their shirt. So, or when they get to middle school, they cut it up and redesign it.
Hey, Jen, could you jump back up to adult sports, because that's a new line item this year?
Yeah, so adult sports, you guys have a great adult sports program and a great turnout for adult sports, so it's definitely something that I think that we could grow and improve on. For volleyball, this fall, we did a women's league, 4 people on the team, $200 for them to sign up. They got 7 weeks of games in a tournament. Our cost was, the total cost for us, and this includes the wages for paying the scorekeeper, was $1,200, and we brought in $1,800 worth of revenue. So adult sports is definitely, and adult sports should always generate revenue. It should always cover costs. You want your adult sports to be able to have extra money so that if you need to supplement on your youth sports, that's where it comes from, is from your adults. My goal for 2020 is to do the co-ed league at the first of the year, do a kickball league, a summer softball league, possibly a horseshoe league, the women's, and then maybe some additional, we'll do another softball tournament this summer, and then possibly do like a grass tournament. But grow and expand. Definitely have a dodgeball league. I mentioned that to a couple people, and they were super excited at the idea of being able to hit people with things. So,
This is a spouse's club.
Husbands against wives.
So it's another opportunity to actually grow. And I'd also like to,
Yeah.
Platteville used to do open gym for basketball. And so my thought is to maximize what we have going on at the school when we're there for the adults. So if we have the co-ed volleyball league going on Sunday nights, January and February, why not also offer open gym for basketball at that time as well? In the small gym, people can come and play basketball while the other people are playing volleyball. We're paying for a gym supervisor to be there. and we're paying for a scorekeeper, so we might as well make the most of having their time and the building.
A question, has anybody from the senior community approached you about pickleball?
They have, so pickleball, we can actually set up pickleball in the community room.
Okay.
Because of the population that's at the senior center, it wouldn't be, there's no one there that would be so intense with that little ball that I'm afraid they would break something. And the floor would work good for it. It'd be hard to do pickleball at the school because we'd have to put different lines down for it, and the schools, especially after they get that resurfaced, I don't know how keen they're gonna be on putting tape down. I've also talked to the seniors, because they have a pickleball net, about taking it over in the spring and the fall, and I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the park, but it's on the road across from the wastewater treatment plant. That basketball court over there, and setting up some times where we played there
Okay.
outside on that court, because it's a surface court for that. Just to get more exposure and maybe draw people who aren't interested in coming to the senior center or to the community center over to play.
The reason why I was asking is because you have adult rec, and I don't know if you were trying to integrate or include the seniors as well, and I know pickleball, when I talk to the seniors, has been brought up a few times.
Yeah,
I didn't know what it is.
it's huge
Never
for
played
them.
pickleball.
Oh, it's fun.
So it's similar to tennis, it's like a cross between tennis and badminton.
Okay.
It's played with a ball it's kind of like a wiffle ball, so it moves slower, and it's a paddle that's like a blown up ping pong paddle.
Okay.
And so it's slower moving, easier for them to get there, but still, it's still a workout.
Okay.
So, yeah, definitely, like if we could get enough people to sign up and start playing, we definitely
Okay.
do it.
Just talking about your travel training meetings and your computer consulting.
So travel trainings and meetings, I would like to go to the, Colorado Parks and Rec Conference again next year in Breckenridge. So that cost is in there. And then, there is a revenue development and management school that I did the first year of it last year when I was in Meade. And so I'd like to go back and finish the certification. On Friday, I will be submitting, a scholarship application that would cover my housing and my tuition for it. So then the only part I would have to cover is the travel expenses to get there. It is in Wheeling, West Virginia. And it is a school, it's not a conference. You go to class from 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon. You end up doing a project, for lack of a better word. Last year we had to come up with a PowerPoint presentation on an activity that we could do to use and promote an underutilized park. And they gave you what your budget was, and you had to show, they gave you your parameters of that, you had an underserved population, you had a low income population, how are you going to get people to use this park, make it affordable so that people can come and still generate revenue to cover the cost of the program. So it was a great program, a great opportunity to learn how to, think outside the box and come up with new ideas on activities to do, how to get people out into our parks and use what we currently have. So
How long is it?
it's a 6-day.
A 6 day.
Mm-hmm.
So you have it in there?
Yeah, we put it in there, that's why there's more. Typically, travel training meetings has simply been used in years past just for mileage reimbursement, a few, minor trainings, but, Janet's gonna go to more formalized, conference and training, and I think that's well worth it. Absolutely.
And then it does also include my mileage for when I go to Weld County Senior Coordinators meeting. They are all over Weld County, so I took an average of, if it's 40 miles away to go, it's 40 miles there and 40 miles back. And that number is a little bit high, but there are 2 meetings, one you go to Grover and one you go to Pierce. I've been to Grover.
Beautiful.
Like bricked up?
Every time.
No, they have rodeos though.
Every time I go there, I'm like, I wonder if the GPS is wrong. I wonder if I'm really lost, and then I'm like, well, great, I hope not, because I have no cell service, so. And then the computer consulting and expense, this would be the cost to, get recreation software. And to be able to allow people to register online for sports, and track all of our registrations in a faster and easier way than an Excel spreadsheet.
So, does that include like a computer? There's lots of people in the community who don't have computers, or don't have the internet or whatever, that they can come down to your office and.
So that actually, when I did the $2,500, we used this software, it's called Jarvis in Meade. And it was $2,500 a year, and then of course, they have to pay their, the credit card processing fee separate. And when I just talked to the lady from Jarvis, she said they now changed how they do the billing of it, and they base it on the size of your population. When I gave her the size of Platteville's population, she said it's actually gonna be less, it will be $2,100 a year because your population is smaller. So it could actually, we could get a Chromebook, something very basic. I mean, you definitely want something where no one could, save their information or download anything to it. But have that for people to come in and register on that don't have that availability.
And you would still have paper registration?
Possibly for the first year. I can tell you that when we switched to this in Meade, I thought I would have gotten a lot more pushback, because you definitely have people who are dead set on paper.
Yes.
But the fact that they don't have to fill out, like if I have 3 kids and I'm registering them for basketball, and I have to fill all the same information out over and over and over again, the fact that they fill that in once, and it will populate every time they do a sport, they'll never fill it in again unless it changes. That's enticing to them. And I'm almost positive that Jarvis has a button that you can click on if you need it to translate completely to Spanish. So.
Nice.
We're already providing a bank of computers for people to use at the library.
I was gonna say the library has access to internet too.
There you go.
And the thing is that would be helpful with that is right now, people do come to my office and wanna register for stuff or pay for stuff, or they come in and I came in 2 weeks ago and had someone they had gone to the fitness center and then slid a registration form and money under my door.
No.
That's kind of what they used to.
Yeah, but that's not, currently I don't have the lock on my window because it got taken off, and that's just not in my skill set to figure out how to put that back on. So,
Window policy.
exactly. So, you just don't want it sitting there. So, this would help with that. And the schools are going more towards everything is done online. I think they just get in line with it and get on board.
So overall, the rec, you can see the bottom line, it's almost the same as this year. With the changes that Jan made, increasing some, decreasing other one. The ball field lights will actually be more reasonable next year, because this year, they still take out the meter, and I didn't realize that until about a month or 2 ago. And they charge us, it's a $35 one-time fee to pull the meter, they're not charged all winter. Last year, I must have forgot, that otherwise they still charge you, even though the lights aren't used pretty much for 6 months, they still charge you your demand charge, which is over $100 a month. So, we got that result this year. And Devin and I have most for that.
So $600 a month or $3,500 to pull is that?
It's 30, $35 to pull the meter.
Oh, I thought you said 3,500.
$100 a
Okay.
month.
And then
Do that.
I was like, we got there.
in next May, end of April, beginning of May, when they start practicing, we'll have it reinstalled.
Gotcha.
That's another 35.
$35. That's a lot better than about $600.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, okay.
So the seniors.
Can I ask one question on rec real quick?
Oh, yeah.
And Janet and Troy, kind of question for both of you guys, is it common, or is it really our only option to have all our coaches for these youth teams be purely volunteer? Our budget only allows for that?
I don't know anybody that pays for coaches.
That's the way it is.
Not for rec.
Yeah. Even my son's club baseball team, he's a volunteer. So we do fundraising. Actually, tonight I'm missing it. They're at the Fuzzy's Tacos selling brownies to build the coaches fund up so the coaches don't have to spend all their travel. So that's, a fair question, but yeah, rec departments, they never pay.
Rec districts may pay
Rec districts might, yeah. But we're a dinosaur.
Right.
Us and LaSalle, I think, and me are the only remaining rec departments. Everyone else is a district.
Fort Lufton's a department.
Are they?
Yes,
Mhm.
Wow, I didn't
they
know
are.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I just figured they had a rec center that was separate.
Mm-hmm. No, they pay that on county budget.
So on the seniors, Janet, you're still filling the coordinator's position,
Mhm.
and we'll go past the benefits.
So are we gonna hire a coordinator, or is she just gonna take it?
No, we'll hire a coordinator. The applicants that have come in, I haven't had anyone that is, that I would feel comfortable in having them take it over, that I feel like wouldn't end up like we'd be in the same situation we were just in. And I don't wanna just put someone in there for the sake of filling the position. So, I would rather leave it open, keep the applicant pool open, try and get some more people. I just reached out to a professor from Metro State, and they were gonna let their seniors, the kids that are graduating, know about the position. And she also said they could potentially help us do with like an internship.
Oh, that's-
Like have someone come in and have it be a 18-week internship where we paid them, we would pay them less. But we would pay them to come in and fill the position, and that's kind of an opportunity as well to try them out and say, hey, we like you, we'd like to offer this to you, or thanks for your time. And then that way, if we did it as an internship, if they're not working out, we just reach out to the school and say this isn't working out. And there's no, it's not the same as if you hire an employee and then terminating them.
So the senior budget's much less, obviously, where it's about supplies, travel training, fuel, and vehicles.
What about the fuel, is that enough? Money for fuel?
Fuel and senior trips. She
You
did,
guys are doing more senior trips, aren't you?
Yeah, and the van actually gets really good gas mileage. I mean, we can typically get about 2.5 trips in the van. I would assume the new vehicle will probably get a little bit better gas mileage just because it has a better engine in it than the van has.
That's bigger.
well, yeah, that's gonna be,
Diesel.
that's gonna be a Ford 350.
Is it diesel?
It's unleaded.
Unleaded?
It's a 350, so I
I wanna bump that up under 500, what do you think?
But, well, this year they've been doing trips every week, and we're estimating only a couple $100 in fuel.
Mhm.
We budgeted thousands, we built up to 1,500, so
Right.
it's kind of hard to gauge the first year.
You're only gonna come in at like 300 for this year, right?
Yeah, that's,
Well, so
Is that true?
even last year was 878, so basically we did about the $500.
Okay.
For the year?
Maybe before I got on the board, seniors were paying their own gas.
Yeah, they
I
can,
was like, what?
and
Pay to play a little bit.
and all throughout there on the M&R vehicles, the new van will be under warranty for,
And when
So
are
we-
you getting that?
well, technically tomorrow it's supposed to
Oh,
arrive, but
yay.
I haven't received any word, so I have to call
No.
them tomorrow.
Oh.
Mike Akers from Creative Bus Solutions is supposed to deliver it. But
Wouldn't that be fun to take on our field trip tomorrow?
no insurance, no registration.
Yeah.
It's like when you
Possible
buy a new
snow and
car.
ice, yeah, let's do it.
Just put the handicap sticker in the
Well, they were
Other
freaked out
vehicles,
because we
you
just
got
had
30
the
days.
training for Weld County and Fort Lupton pulled up in their van, which their bus that was huge.
Like a Cadillac.
And they
Brand
were
new?
like completely
Wow.
freaked out. They're like, ours isn't gonna be that big, is it ours? We don't want them. And I'm like, well, it's too late now if it is. Don't be telling me you don't want it now if it's that big. So I was like, oh, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like a miniature Greyhound bus.
Mhm. It was tall.
Wow.
I definitely would not be driving that.
No.
So,
Do we,
Right over.
I don't know, this may be something that the seniors keep in-house, but do you offer, like, for seniors that are on fixed incomes, if they wanna go on trips and they can't afford it, do we have some sort of slush?
So that's
fund
what
for
the
that?
activity scholarship is
Okay, perfect.
to help cover the cost for those
Awesome.
people who can't afford it.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot of pride that goes along with that.
Right,
so
that's
we
a
all-
really hard one to get someone, and that, it makes it much easier to have them come to me and say to me, I want to go, but I can't afford it,
Right.
than currently right now, they, cause I didn't know that money existed, they thought they had to go, like, to the advisory board to a meeting and say, I
Oh.
can't afford, and so of course no one was saying it, they just weren't going.
they're not gonna do that.
And, you know,
That
I
enough
don't
money
know.
for that for the whole year?
On the
I'm not
500.
trying to, give money away, but,
Oh, no, I'm
Someone
not
wants-
seniors, I don't
right, if
care
somebody
as long as
wants
we get it
to
in
go
there.
on a trip, they should be able to go, right?
Oh, I agree.
What's the average cost of trips?
It just depends on what we do. I try and do at least 1 to 2 a month that are no cost, just paying for the cost, they have to pay for the cost of their lunch. So if lunch,
Like 10, 12 bucks?
yeah. We're going to like the IMAX, that's $8 plus the cost of their meal. They have expressed some interest in wanting to go on some trips that maybe are longer, like overnight trips, once we have the nicer vehicle and it's not so bad to ride for a long time.
I'll go.
Possibly going up to South Dakota to Mount Rushmore, stuff like that. So in an event like that, $500, I mean, I definitely wouldn't, because if we did a trip that was a 3-day trip where there was gonna be hotels and that, they would pay for that over a period of time. So I would never, on a trip like that, I would never say we're gonna subsidize 100% of the trip. We can subsidize a portion of it. They need to have a little skin in the game.
Right.
And that's, and I think they want to have some skin in the game. They don't want it to be a handout. So, I mean, would I take more money if you wanted to put more money in there? Yeah.
Well,
And like I said-
500 there.
I just doubled it. I think it's important to the sports fans that they at least go to a Rockies game every year, and maybe an Avs game in the wintertime.
Yeah, since they can't watch that on TV.
I know.
Or we can just go to that bar that is
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
pirating
next
it.
door, yeah.
There you go.
I'll monitor it.
There we go.
Where you gotta
Oaks
start
driving.
Right, and now you can kind of advertise that
Right.
skit, right, you know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing, I know the people in the group that come to lunch, I know those that need the assistance, and I can talk to them. And then we can start promoting it amongst, when we send out the newsletter that says scholarships are available to assist for those.
Well, I think it's nice to have 2 or 3 activities that the town pays for. I mean, as doesn't have to be sports, I mean, it could be a tour or something, you could, go to the zoo in Colorado Springs or something, I don't know.
Right.
Just something different. But I know a
$50
lot
slot
of
card.
Huh?
$50 slot card.
Oh,
Double.
God, they would.
Yeah.
No.
I guess it's probably what they're good on the town.
The
Promoting
town,
gambling.
the town sponsored meals are, they do a potluck once a month and the town provides the main dish for it. And that $800 also includes doing the Christmas dinner for them that Mary does.
Yeah,
So,
because the seniors used to pay their own way for the Christmas dinner, and I used to do a manager's luncheon every 3 months, so I just told Janet, I think it's best to do a monthly potluck, and then the town pays for all of them to have a Christmas meal.
Right,
I think it's better that way.
agreed.
So, they like to eat, I'm gonna raise that to 1,000.
Yes.
Agreed. Good. But still, I mean, looking at about, mainly because of the change in the coordinator position and benefits, there's, the rec department stayed about the same, 11,000, the seniors about 25,000 less. So, that means you can't have that money somewhere else, Janet, sorry.
I was gonna say, pencil it in on the side, because my goal is to have the program grow enough to where we need to, I would like to see the program get to a point where we have a full-time person with a facility and a vehicle.
Yes.
It's just finding the right things to offer to get them in there and have stuff going for them.
I'm a little off subject. Have you talked to Penny Salazar about Meals on Wheels?
I don't know.
I'll give you.
Okay. But I did talk with, Troy gave me a contact from the FDA, and he came and spoke on grants that seniors can get to, be able to stay in their house, to make the accommodations so that they can stay in their house. And he mentioned that there is, funding out there to possibly do like a, it's not necessarily a senior thing, but, you know, in the summer, offering, like lunches for the kids.
Oh.
So it would be a program where we made a sack lunch at the community center, and then we took it over to Lincoln Park, and the kids know at 11 o'clock, any kid can come and get a lunch. There's no, you have to qualify for it,
Oh.
It's
See,
just
we
a
did
lunch
this with
program.
the food bank, 3 years ago.
Mhm.
They had a big push during the summer for lunches, so we did, we would have our summer reading program,
Mhm.
and then there would be lunch.
Yeah,
And we called it Read Feed,
there you go.
yeah.
So, but he said there's a big grant, a federal grant that would help cover the cost of the food
Oh, nice.
for it.
Now,
So-
when Diana and the library did it 3 years ago, I mean, they were saying, well, there's so many, such a high percentage of kids on free and reduced lunch during the year, but then there's 3 months of summer, where do they get their food?
Yeah.
Right.
Like 56%
Mhm.
of our kids.
Mhm.
Well, and Jerry said that that number is actually considerably lower than what it actually is. He said because there's such a, they won't fill out, they don't wanna
It's a
fill out the
split fund.
paperwork. And so, he said you could probably add a minimum of 10 to 15%
Mhm.
more onto that for people who just, they won't fill out the paperwork, but so their kid always has a bill at the school for their
Yes.
lunches, so.
But yeah, I'd love to
Yeah,
partner with that.
that would be
again.
a good one to do.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for the Rucker Senior Department? And Janet is definitely taking this over under her wing, so that's good.
You feel like there's any area there that may be underfunded a little bit at all?
Not that I can think of. It was hard to do a budget this year because there was no historical data
Right.
to go off of for either, for rec or for the seniors. I mean,
Right.
nothing really, no one had said this is how we came up with the cost for anything, so it was kind of trying to back into it and figure out, you know, these are the costs that we can see.
So if something really big comes up, and we need to make a change, that's the amendment.
Yeah, the first year gonna be trial and error because Janet has one way of doing things and new ideas, so
Absolutely.
I don't wanna pad it just for that, but I think
Right.
there's plenty of wiggle room in this next year's budget where if something justifiable comes up.
And the only thing I would say, and I think it's in there that we would be able to cover it for next year, is Gordon said that because the west field just got new ball field mix, that it might need like an inch of top dressing brought out and put on it. So I think with the money we have in the budget, the only item that I could think of that's big ticket that could possibly go wrong is if that ATV dies.
Okay.
We'd have to figure out an alternative to that.
Yeah, we budget the ball field maintenance in the conservation trust fund. And I did, and we'll get to that in a little bit, about another 10,000.
Okay, for four-wheeler.
Four-wheeler, dirt, netting. I know Andrew and his friend went down earlier this week and the pitching, net in the back box, somebody just ripped it up.
So Dylan got that all down
That's all Gordon and Dylan down there, they were taking.
last night,
Good.
so.
And then as of today, Janet Valley Football Club put in their quonset, so they're gonna be working on that, and the rec shed will be just for rec, and Valley will have, football will have their own storage space. After Mark disappears.
Just something about to prevent maybe, cameras up at the picture shop, see put some of them right more towards the batting cages, so kids don't go over there, cause it's kinda just open. So it doesn't get tore up anymore, at least we will have something
Put
with
the
that.
smiley on camera signs up.
Yeah, a sign or something deterrent, or a fake camera. Those
Yeah.
are deterrent, they don't have to know it's fake.
Well, that's what we might talk about, is adding a camera on the senior center side of the parking lot, and adding another one on the concession stand with a batting cage.
Okay.
And then we just put, somebody on camera, and then you watch kids dancing, and then the other night, just weird stuff.
Right there?
I hope so.
So I want to scroll down to the library fund, and what the library fund is for a break. But, Diane promised me she doesn't want to do a huge capital project last year.
Holy crap, you have 2 years in a row, right? Yeah,
No more.
but the change is amazing, right?
Just quick on the revenues, the mill levy of DC up at the top here, per our contract with High Plains, we get 1 mill or assessed valuation to the library, so that's $44,895. And the library property tax went up significantly like the towns did. So, pretty good revenue for the library district. The one number I put on Diane, I changed is I increase your earnings on investment, because overall you're gonna actually have more in Colo Trust than you did previous years, so I just increased that revenue.
Okay.
But I'll turn it over to you for your expenditures. Did you wanna mention, start with the salaries we talked about with Nantes? Or do you wanna wait till Nantes?
Well, let's just wait till then,
Okay.
yeah. What we did do on the salaries for everyone, we compared with, the salaries that the library district pays their employees. And we found out that we were pretty low. And so what the board voted on was for this year, they basically increased everybody's salary by $1 an hour. We've lost a couple of good staff members to the district because of their wages as opposed to ours. And, so we're in line with them now, so I think we're good.
And we're going to do basically the operations side. And this audio and visual, you decreased by half.
We did. our audio books, the circulation has gone down because of being able to stream everything on your phone or whatever while you travel. And so we did decrease our audio budget for that. And audiobooks are extremely expensive, so that really didn't hurt our feelings too much. We hate, I mean, we still see the e-checkouts, but the physical piece, we don't, we're cutting back on it because they're just not moving like they used to.
Well, you don't have, cassettes or, discs in the car anymore.
No, my car
Mine
doesn't
doesn't
have
have
a,
it either,
a
so
new,
it's all
have a
Bluetooth.
player either, yeah.
What's a cassette? I'm teasing.
It's like an 8-track tape.
8-track.
I got one of those in the garage and.
Yeah, and the
Mine
cover
too.
now still.
You have an online audiobook
Yeah, I was just
option?
gonna ask about that e-checkout.
Yeah. Yeah, all you have to do is go to the library district website and you can check out ebooks.
Really?
Yeah.
And then you just download them?
Mhm. Mhm.
Nice. I
Cheaper
had
than
no
buying
idea.
them. Been buying them.
Yeah, no, some of them, there's a waiting period, just like there is on a new book. But, yeah, you just check them out and they give you I think it's a 7-day lending period on them.
Fantastic.
Looks like most of our items for those are kept the same. For the most part.
Okay, yeah.
Advertising and postage. Is that for, advertising more for like adult children's programs or?
That's not the same as circulating.
Well, we do the monthly mailing. We hit Facebook pretty hard and we occasionally promote harder on that and have to pay a fee
Oh, okay.
to hit on that. And we do a lot of handouts with, our name and stuff on them too, so, yeah.
Parades and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we budgeted that last year and we won't be hitting it, so. Building improvements, last year we budgeted, well, that 200,000 that you see in other library capital items, that basically was the building improvement that we've been working on. We redid the bathrooms in Platteville, all 3 of them, and we're getting a new roof put on right now. They started yesterday. New roof and skylights that hopefully don't leak, and
Do you have an estimate on that by chance? What the roof will be?
yeah, but I didn't bring it with me.
So if you wanna shoot that to me, I'll put it in this line item,
Okay,
and then I'll just increase it for the projection year end.
okay,
So whenever you have a chance.
alright,
Well, I just thought of that. so.
yeah,
You guys have solar panels, correct?
oh yeah.
So they're taking those off and putting them back on?
The Platteville solar isn't nearly as efficient as Gilchrist.
It's old, right?
Yeah, it's older, yeah. The Gilchrist solar, from April until just this month, I didn't owe anything to Excel and I was getting rebates.
Wow,
Cool.
That's how efficient that is in Gilchrist,
Awesome.
yeah.
wow, already, God, they were just saying on TV, it takes 7 years before you see a.
Well, yeah, it's amazing. I just kept thinking, I'm gonna get a whopper of a bill from Excel, but nope,
Wow.
yeah.
So no capital projects for next year. Do you wanna give a 5,000 contingency, I noticed, is that something the library board's comfortable with?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they are.
Alright,
That was their suggestion, so.
okay. And going into the Nantes, and we can rename this from Gilchrist and Nantes, that's gonna be,
Yeah, we should.
yep.
Beginning, first of the year, we will have Nantes open full-time, just like we do Platteville. While we were closed in Platteville for those 3 months during bathroom renovation, except for very limited hours, we had Nantes open to full-time and it was well used. So we thought, you know what, let's do it. We are cutting our evening hours, there'll be no more after 6 o'clock. We've kept track of that for about the last 6-8 months in the 2 different buildings. It didn't pay. We'd only have 2 or 3 people in the evening. We're keeping 2 people on staff and having the lights on. So, actually, beginning next month in Platteville, and Gilchrist, we won't have evening hours, but beginning the first of the year, we'll be open full-time in Gilchrist as well. So we will have 1 full-time staff member in Gilchrist, along with a couple of, well, about 3-4 part-timers. We've got, a young lady that, she just started. She's a junior at UNC, and, she went to Valley. She graduated from Valley. And so she's gonna be helping out there as well.
Don't think there any changes on your operations over there, other than your salaries and your employees. Looks like you increased equipment acquisitions quite a bit. Is there a specific reason on that one?
I don't remember why we increased that.
Computers or desks or?
The computers are paid for by the library district.
It was just the number that came out of the culture.
No, okay, I remember what that is. This was so long ago.
Light bulb.
Yeah, all of a sudden. Okay, at Nantes, we had, actually, I thought that was in a different line item. Oh, okay, the equipment acquisition, yes. Our book drop got backed into,
Oh.
so we have to replace it.
Oh, okay.
And that's about 3,500.
Wow.
Yeah, well, and we thought hopefully we could fix it. But it's a double walled, and it caved in one corner and sheared the bolts off in the cement. So we've got to replace it. We know who did it. We talked to her. It was totally an accident. Nothing deliberate. It was caught on tape, as they say. And I just visited with her the other day, and I said, you know, I understand it was totally an accident. It wasn't, it just happened. A young lady, high school. I said, so instead of your insurance going up or our insurance going up, I said, how about 20 hours of community service? And she was cool with that. So that's what we'll do.
Very generous.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I figure between the 2 buildings, we could keep her busy.
Up with the roof,
Yeah.
picking up nails.
No kidding.
Was there anything else, Diane, between the 2 libraries? I mean, I looked at your budget, and it's pretty much status quo.
Yeah, it's pretty basic.
I didn't see any big projects.
No big projects.
No.
No.
Are you
No
still
more.
having a hard time finding someone to clean snow for you?
Yeah, we've got, the gal that does our landscape is also doing the snow. When the snow gets more than what a snow blower can handle, I've got an agreement with, the school district, the high school. It's an in-kind agreement that when it gets deeper than what she can handle, they will come over and plow out my parking lot.
Oh, that's
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a 3-year agreement, so we got that covered.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Do the schools or the classes ever utilize Nantis? I mean, it's all part-time. Do you think they might utilize coming over there more often?
You know, they did last year when they were doing all the renovation at school.
Oh, sure, no, sure.
And so we're not seeing the classrooms come over that we did last year. But it's busy after school. Yeah.
Now, I was hoping in the conversation, the explanation of Nantis would come up. I'm drawing a blank, what is Nantis?
Nantes was the original name of the town of Gilchrist.
Okay.
It was a rail line, and the first rail master at that town, his last name was Nantes.
Okay.
And then a lumber tycoon came and bought the town of Nantes and renamed it Gilcrest after his dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Gilchrist Library is called Nantes?
Nantes.
Okay, alright.
Yeah.
Thank you for that history
Oh,
explanation.
sure.
I'm sitting there like, we got a third library? So I always called it Gilchrist Library, so,
Yeah.
alright. I've never been to that one, so it's probably
Oh,
lately
you've got,
Nantes.
oh, you gotta go visit, it's phenomenal.
Alright.
Is it Nantes?
Nantes, yeah.
Okay. There. Change it, don't you?
Oh, thank you.
Over county will change it back.
Yeah, I'm just sitting back, I'm like, please, somebody explain what this map is. Everybody else looks like they know what they're talking about, and I'm like, I'm left out here.
That's right. You'll have to ask that question.
Did I miss that meeting?
All right, any other questions for Jan or Diane? Okay, you wanna take 5 and got some dessert with your plate or whatever, and if you two wanna.
Oh, you don't wanna eat any of that dessert.
No. Mary, what did you call that dessert?
Oh my God. It was
Lot of
much.
sugar.
Really? I don't live one.
It took care of my sweet tooth.
All right,
probably
for the next year.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay.
You don't want it?
No.
Yeah, I'd be curious to read what he was doing that about. My mom texted me that actually with smiley faces.
Right. Yeah. There's no telling.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it used to
Really?
be horribly painful.
Say
When I
that
first started.
Is this,
speaking up against them,
Yes.
or scum.
That's how I make mine.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
It's my favorite.
Is it?
It
Sounds about right.
is.
It's gonna look good on the end of a rope.
I usually put chocolate, the mini chocolate chips.
I thought about that, I thought that would be good, or I thought getting actual beef bars and whacking them,
Yep.
so you get a little bit of both.
Yes.
But I was,
Oh, no.
I just wanted something that was kinda quick, but different. I always just do brownies and,
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, and see, and the other thing is, here's better. With our revenue in the library district, that board said, you guys aren't using all your money to
No,
doesn't want that.
yeah,
No, if you wanna buy books,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Janet, the reason I asked about that coaches thing is, I'll be honest with you, volleyball, the other teams were playing a different sport than we were playing. We were not competitive at all the entire season. Which I don't know, that could be, it's not established, all the other teams have played for years or whatever it is with this, but I just was thinking if the coach had some and small incentive to want to be at every game and be at every practice.
So they get they get their registration free.
Okay, like
So
for
they
their
do get a
kids,
little incentive.
for their children, they get a registration free. Okay.
My goal is to, moving forward, do more training with them.
Right.
And get them, see ya.
Yeah, so we
Diane.
can't offer them money, can we offer them at least like a practice way, like, you know, at least some materials to get them prepared, I guess.
You can give them that, but whether or not they use
Do
it
it,
is
right.
their own,
Prerogative,
I mean, having done this for 15 years,
yes.
you get plenty of people who, like, I was telling Jerry that one of the coaches said that there were drop balls, and so she was gonna make them run lines for every drop ball that they had. And he was like, you should never use exercise as a punishment for anything,
Okay.
because then that makes exercise negative.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, there's nothing in volleyball that requires you to have lung capacity from
Right.
sprinting
Yes.
back and forth. There's nothing. If it was basketball, that might be a little different.
Yes.
And he goes, they miss serves, instead of having them run, you should have them give you push-ups, because that's gonna make their arms stronger.
Right.
But I'm also trying to to get some ideas through to the NBAA league. Some of the stuff that they do is not best practice for the kids,
Right.
and not, like, for kindergarten through second grade. In the league in Longmont, we did, it was third and fourth grade was the youngest age group that they did. And they started with an oversized volleyball
Right.
versus using the volley light, because
And
it's slower moving,
some
they
other
could track it.
Towns do the kindergarten thing pretty well, because they probably have established, I don't know if their programs are established, but I was surprised when I was
Right.
in those games, you know. Okay, you know, we're playing volleyball kinda here,
Mhm.
you know, so,
But they would have more success if they had a ball that was slower moving and they could track it.
right.
At third and fourth grade, they would transition, they could still use that trainer ball. But at fifth and sixth grade, they still need to be using a volley light, not a standard volleyball, because their arm structurally isn't strong
Right.
enough for that. But these people believe that if you just push these kids hard enough, they'll learn how to do it, they'll make it work. And unfortunately, what you're doing is damaging their shoulder
Right.
and making kids not as successful serving over the net. So wouldn't you rather them, by fifth and sixth grade, be serving overhand with a volley light and getting it over the net versus using a regulation volleyball, but they all have to serve it underhand?
Right.
You know, I
Certainly.
mean,
I see what you're saying there. for
yeah.
sure.
So there are just some things that with the NBAA league that is trying to
Right.
change their minds. Like, we told the girls that came the first week of games, you have to take your earrings off, and they looked at me like I was on crack. This little girl has big hoop earrings. She's like, we've never had to take them off before. And I'm like, and I couldn't find it in the rules, and so I said, we just talked about this at our meeting, where is it in the rules that it says they can't wear earrings? Well, it's technically not in the rules, it's common sense. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, why wouldn't you have that in there? Well, because really volleyball is not a contact sport. Well, it is when they come into contact with the net. I said, my first aid kit isn't equipped for a kid to get their earrings stuck in the net and it rip it out of their ear.
Right. Or a ball, do the same thing.
Right. And so I was just like, that really should be in there. Well, you know, that's their parents' discretion. No, that's liability on you guys.
Yeah.
If someone gets hurt because that's not a rule, and that's a simple rule to have in your,
Certainly.
you know, so I'm like, okay. But yeah, and to do it again, I would not have one person coach as much as she
Right, and I know
did.
you said you had a hard time finding a coach for the thing, right? Which is tough, when you have nothing to offer them, and
Right, well, and being new, I just didn't know
no, the
people.
community, right,
Um,
that's true.
But yeah, I
That's probably a
definitely,
big part of it too, huh?
yeah. So, and it was nice, and I appreciate that she stepped up and did it.
I don't know, let me,
Um, And you know,
I'll need to.
I'm not bashing her at
no,
all.
no, no.
Thank you, I think he's
But
right.
it also
It was what it
serves,
was.
it also serves as motivation for
Actually, I
other
think we need to-
parents
Yeah.
to say, okay, I can do it next time, because I don't want
Um,
this to happen
I
again.
agree.
And she, I like Aubrey, she's a very nice person, but she has a personality that's hard to like,
Okay, good.
it's not an approachable,
I did.
like, let me help you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's like she has the people that she knows that she'll let help,
The county,
And
so you go
so-
clear down 85 to O Street,
you know, I
and then to
mean,
the administration building
I'm
on O
just-
Street.
No, I was thankful that, cause then I didn't expect her to be at every game, cause when one's here
Well, and
and the next one's
especially,
over
like,
there.
as big as that this area is, and that's the other thing I'm just curious about, is that
Just right on.
you have Estes Park, you have Evans, you have Windsor, you have Hudson, you have, it's so spread out. Let's group into
Right,
quadrants,
divisions or something.
and then when you have a tournament, then you can seed your tournament that way. But having it to where
Gone up north of town and come back.
Well,
everyone,
I've gone to Old
like,
Street.
you
but
could go
when
to
you-
Estes
when you
Park
head going west, it's at first.
and then turn around and go to Wiggins.
Right.
That's a long way to drive for a kindergarten, second grade volleyball team.
Flyer.
Cause the next.
All for being dedicated, but
Yeah. For sure.
Definitely not that dedicated.
The dinner?
That basketball,
Yeah,
I
that's what
was gonna ask you if there was any possibility or interest in like a basketball league or something.
Yeah, well, and I just feel like, you know, like a pickup games on Sunday nights to start with, just to test the waters and
Yep.
see who's interested. We can get a good feel
Right,
for
let's
it,
see
and
who
then,
shows
Oh, that's right, I just put
I'll
6
take
o'clock.
so yeah,
I'll be there.
okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
And I saw your thing on Facebook about that little preschool kindergarten, the clinic, the mini league.
Oh, yes.
So,
It's not bad.
doing that
I like it.
for the kids that just maybe aren't ready to commit to, I mean, a league is, 6 to 8 weeks is a long time
Yeah,
for a little preschool kindergartner.
it is.
So this is just, they'll get a ball, they'll get,
Oh, that's right.
they'll get a shirt,
Yeah.
we'll scrimmage against each other,
Yeah.
but
We had to call
not
that
6 weeks of games. So,
Cool.
and that's
I'm not
where
sure
it's
Emma's,
interesting.
like, she's interested, but she doesn't have a lot of coordination at all.
Well, so for that age group, we actually play with those little handballs,
Right.
the
Oh.
balls that are tiny,
Okay,
because their hand fits it and they can catch it, they're not afraid of it.
right.
I mean, that's the biggest thing is, especially with the volleyball, the kids are afraid of it. So
Absolutely.
I'm like, no. So, see
Thank
ya.
you.
You get something like that? Monitor production?
Yeah.
I'm not so sure, but I think these people that
It's
have
really
their
odd.
sold my email, because I've been getting junk mail.
Mark was joking that he would just keep the
Everything
American
goes.
flag on it.
Across the coast, Niagara, the hair plugs, and
I think
everything in between, all day, every day.
it said there would have to be.
It's like, unsubscribe,
I'm a boring
and
individual.
it's like, stop sending me this crap.
Everybody's ready, we're gonna
Please.
rock on and roll through the day. We're gonna start with the cemetery fund, which is the first, second special revenue fund after the library. On the revenues, the cemetery really doesn't pay for itself. I mean, it's based upon lot sales and openings, which is the funerals. And a number of years ago, the board decided to, since our water tanks are up there inside the cemetery, to lease the water fund to the cemetery to offset some cost. Without that, we'd be in pretty dire straits. Only generates about 100,000. Half of that is the land lease for water fund. It's unpredictable with lot sales, obviously, and funerals. So those are estimations that I'm anticipating, but it's hard to tell. And when we pass the rates and benefits, really not a whole lot changed. This is one of the funds where the admin fees are assessed. It's water, sewer, cemetery, and library, the admin fees get assessed since paperwork is up front on it. The only one I talked to David Green about is the ground maintenance. This is for the mowing. Somehow that's taken out of another fund, so we need to reallocate those. I believe it's coming out of parks for buildings and grounds. He's gonna work on that for me. The contract mowing has not gone up. I talked to Jim Nelson, that, his pillars are done, but the guy who's doing the gates is behind schedule, and that should be done in the next few weeks and installed. We didn't get the survey and the plat done for the new side of the cemetery this year, so I rolled that over to next year. That's a ballpark. I don't think it will cost near that much, but that's a placeholder. Otherwise, our revenues to expenditures aren't quite there, so after we get the east side survey and plat, we won't really do any kind of capital type of outlay project up there for a while until those funds back in. Conservation Trust Fund, these are our lottery earnings that we get from the state based upon our per capita, our population. So unless the Platteville grows, these numbers will essentially stay between 20 and 30,000. And then we use the Conservation Trust primarily for Tree City USA, and it's $2 per person, so we budget $6,000. We're part of that program. that ball field maintenance I talked to you about. And then, this is where I put the 45,000, part of the match for the splash pad and Lincoln Park improvements, as I mentioned during the board meeting.
Now I thought you said you would increase the ball field maintenance.
The ball field maintenance, see, again, David Green combined funds, so we had 20,000, and then we had 10,000 this year. 10,000 for basic ball field maintenance. Gordon did one of the infills this year, and he had some netting, which we didn't know what the cost would be, and they ended up being a lot less than anticipated. So actually, 4,000 of this 11,000 is for that ball field improvements.
Okay.
So he combined these two lines together, and that's why there's 11,000. That's why it looks over, but it's really under by about 10,000,
Okay.
or more than that actually.
But for the budget for next year, it's still at 10?
Still at 10.
Okay.
And if there's extra stuff going on, then I will talk about adding just another cap item. But talking to Janet, the four-wheeler, the nail drag, the couple inches that Gordon talked about, that all should be maintained within the 10,000. The use tax funds, all building permits, the 1%, technically 2%, at least that's 1%, because we only do building, not, or materials, not labor. This is a guessing game. I'm anticipating 33,000 in use tax this year. The previous year, we really didn't do any building, it was less than half of that. So it's just a conservative number again of 30,000. I'm hoping I'm wrong. There's one lot, the energy park still has to be developed, and then if the 7-11 goes in, that'll be a big boost. But other than that, I don't have any available lots right now for new growth to build. So this mostly will come off building permits for existing home expansions, garages, sheds. Yeah, if that 10 acres, 11 acres in Nick Christos comes in, that has to be annexed first. It's currently in the county.
So it's basically new building.
It's building permits, either new structures or expanding any kind of building permit.
But the new is where
The new is where money comes in. Yeah.
I was thinking that fire station, something might happen with that next year. The old one.
Well, yeah.
But there won't be a whole lot of building permit.
And they can pull a building permit and renovate it, but that's not gonna be near the same as a new structure, yeah.
I heard rumors that they're thinking about not selling it.
I heard that too. I don't know what they're gonna do. Because,
So,
They're not gonna sell
or
it.
not to sell.
That's the rumor I heard.
Well, we should have bought it just so we could have sold it.
So expenditures out of the use tax is part of our annual mowing contract. We did the Rogers Farm landscaping and park improvements this year, came under budget. And then the other part of the 80,000 for the splash pad and park improvements I put in this side. So that would be the town's match, if you recall from last board meeting. Law enforcement from the training fund we've been through last week. Harvest Daze. Harvest Daze is actually the best it's ever been.
Wow.
And Adrian,
Constituency golf.
well, Adrian brings in a lot of donations, and then my golf tournament does pretty well. I'm trying to expand on that. So that I didn't do the transfer from the town this year because that's usually for the fireworks, and then Anadarko gave us 5,000 for the fireworks. I just didn't do the transfer. Left that in the general fund.
Yeah.
And next year I didn't budget any transfer. If you guys are okay with that, because it's sitting pretty good. I mean, a few years ago it was lacking, but now it's doing pretty good.
But how much is Nedwood gonna cost?
I don't know that. So expenditure, speaking of that, in our entertainment, we budgeted 5,000, we spent 42. I could probably increase that back to 5,000 just in case the band we hire is more expensive. Yeah. Fireworks increase to 6 because that's what Sharon from Tri-State said. Golf tournament expenses, I lowered it a little bit because I'm trying to look at what I did this year. That first year I bought some extra stuff that we reused, like banners and so forth. And I don't buy second and third place teams awards anymore. I just give them cash or gift certificates. guys don't wanna work. The first place, they wanna brag, but they're gonna do it, because they lost. So.
Second is first place loser.
Do you think we could have, I'm asking this out loud, that there would be enough people to attend if you had like a different, there's this nineties band that I see all the time that,
For Harvest Daze?
for Harvest Daze, like in the middle of the day, like during the volleyball tournament type of, that time
A
frame.
few years ago, we had a band that played during the volleyball tournament, and everybody liked it.
Yes, a lot.
They liked it.
Yeah.
And we set them up over in that corner where, in the grass, kinda on the volleyball side.
We could have a beer, that'd be part of the beer area, right, so you could drink while you're watching the band.
Yeah, because it's permanent inside there,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we can look at,
Find something like an eighties, nineties band.
yeah, cover band type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna have free DJs.
Yeah.
So we probably need to raise our budget for the entertainment.
For the entertainment. So what are you thinking, 7?
7 probably gets you all of that, right, potentially? Pretty close.
Yeah, cause you get one of these smaller bands that one year, I mean, they were like $800 to play for like 3 hours in the afternoon.
Everybody loves them.
I don't think they're still there anymore, but we can.
There's a band I know about, like I said, I'll just see what the rate is.
Okay.
Go from there. Do you have a tentative date for Harvest Daze?
It's the 3rd week in August.
Okay.
Always.
Yeah, it's always a third Saturday.
The youth, is there any,
Yeah,
so you raise that up 500, I don't know,
youth activities.
what, is that just for the inflatables or what?
Yeah, it's for the bounce houses, primarily the bounce houses and inflatables, and we bought, some more foam mixture for the foam machine this year, for 5-gallon buckets, like $40 a piece.
Was that coming out of the youth committee's budget?
It came out of the youth activities budget in the Harvest Daze.
But not the youth, that, the
Youth
youth
committee.
committee is not coming out there, so.
Okay.
No.
I think we're setting some money aside there for that as well, but,
Really, that's pretty much for bounce houses and everything else we can think of. But pretty much that's bounce houses, is what it is.
well, I was just looking at the prices, getting that info there, and bounce houses, I mean, that might get 3 bounce houses.
Okay.
Did, Anadarko pay for that this year?
Anadarko paid for the 2 new ones
Oh,
that the
gotcha.
committee, that the youth committee went over at Friday night.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah. And now that transition is going on, I'm not sure what to expect from Anadarko, or Oxford, just don't know. You know,
They had to hold us off on the Lincoln Park thing because of the transition.
Yeah, it's gonna take a little while.
I'm not trying to do a Harvest Daze planning session, but one thing that other towns do, like Frederick comes to mind, is they have a booth for their town that has some signage on it and gives out different, I was thinking we have committee information out there and have maybe like a little magnet calendar with, days for, just some town swag type
That's
of.
right.
We could have like the trustees trade off on
Yep, certainly.
manning
On
it.
manning it, absolutely, so wouldn't have to be a
That's a
staff.
great idea. I love that.
So we have to put a little bit of money into banners and
Let me
swag.
increase the miscellaneous expense for that, I can do more of a town booth. We really don't have a town booth.
Like a PR.
Right,
No, we used to
exactly.
do that.
We used to,
have a town booth.
yeah,
Yeah.
we used to years ago.
I really like that.
We're gonna have all the departments kind of represented in some fashion or something, you know what I mean?
And have some information about seniors and rec, the
Yeah.
2 committees.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Do that.
I love it.
So.
That's a designated shade spot too.
Yeah, right.
So Harvest Daze is doing pretty well.
Troy, it's not necessarily part of Harvest Daze, but did you include, your liquor licensing somewhere?
How much was that?
Oh, I budget 4,000.
For liquor license?
Yeah,
For what? To license the whole premises?
yeah.
I'm gonna take that, not out of Harvest Daze.
No,
That's
but
not just-
somewhere.
Somewhere, we'll have to budget that, because that's gonna be for everything at Highway Representative, Community Center, Senior
Yeah.
Center, all things.
So we could try to have more events to pay for that. right?
True, I mean, just going back to what Janet mentioned about, she and I have a long talk about adult activities, is we have those 8 volleyball courts down, or horseshoe courts down there, only once a year.
Lots of people wanna do that in the summer.
So starting the league in the summertime, I talked to Todd and David about putting in some permanent, like, picnic tables, somewhere to sit, and maybe some kind of shade structure on the south side, maybe some trees, I don't know, we're gonna take a hard look at that this next spring.
Can you put in some 20-foot trees?
20-foot trees. Yeah, we're not gonna do
Big
the.
root ball.
the-
The excavator dig that one in.
Park,
You know.
Parks Fund, this is impact fees without new residential, there's no revenues coming in here. A little bit of earnings off interest. This year, the board made a donation for the dog park for the Boy Scout project. Otherwise, I budget just a miscellaneous number for park improvement maybe, but that's nothing, it's not gonna do anything. But without the new growth, this fund will not grow at all. Storm drains, same way, but unlike the other 4 impact fees, park funds those impact fees only come from residential. So starting with like storm drainage, one of our other 4, that's commercial and residential. So this $20,947, that was the impact fees paid for by Evergreen Industries at the Energy Park. So that all came from that one new building, that one up north of Antarctica. Residentially, it's $1,601 for a new residential permit. That goes in the storm drainage. I need to reach out to Chief Durkee. We budgeted $20,000 in this fund to cost share for the storm drainage outside behind me along Main Street on Town Hall property. A portion of it came out of this. They haven't invoiced me yet, so it's still sitting there, but I did put it in as a projected year expense. So the fund balance about $44,000. That's nothing for storm drainage. The next impact fee was transportation. So again, Evergreen Industries, they paid $45,937, which helped. And this year we budgeted for the community center renovations. And thanks to some water damage and some mold that was discovered. Actually, this one is I'm getting ahead of myself. This one is for the Reynolds Avenue, sorry. I budgeted $140,000. Steve Bethers is about done, so I just rounded up to $100,000. And Reynolds Avenue project we're gonna talk about next Wednesday. I put part of that expense out of this fund. Next Tuesday, sorry, thank you, Nick.
You're on it.
Correct me.
Can't keep my time straight, that's all. 6 or 6:30, huh?
The transportation impact, again, growth based. Better than more, there's nothing in there. So I was talking to David Green, next Tuesday, he's gonna be here, and he's working on a new budget format that he wants to present to the board. So I'm gonna just dive into this real quick, our conversation he and I had this week. He says, Troy, you have 19 funds. He says, that's the most funds I've ever seen any town have. Most towns will have a general fund, a capital fund, your state statute required conservation trust, and I think use tax, and then your water and sewer, your perpetual care. So I said, I'm not comfortable going from one extreme to the other, but I said, if you're gonna work on what a capital fund would look like, with the capital improvement fund, the sidewalk maintenance fund, and some of those, because a lot of those monies are spent for the same similar types of capital projects. They're restricted, but I said, as long as they're still itemized where the board and I can see the revenues that come in and the expenditure that go out for those specific types of funds, then I'd probably be okay with it. So he's gonna present that next Tuesday.
Was he suggesting downgrading from 19 to like 10?
10, exactly 10.
Okay.
Yep. And he said it would save us literally on our annual audit, because audit firms will look at how many funds you have and they'll base their price on that. Even though it's the same amount of work, he said it's a game. So, and he said your financials would go from about 70 pages down to about 35 or 40. So I said, we'll take a look at it. So he's gonna bring together a draft. He sent me the first one today, I didn't like it, so I sent it back. So. It wasn't explanatory enough, it still has to be transparent. The thing with the Veteran Memorial Fund is on this consolidation, that's why I brought it up, he's thought about, unless we're gonna do another big fundraising project, which now we have the committee, the Veteran Memorial Committee, which they're doing most of the fundraising, putting this inside the cemetery fund, but keeping it earmarked for the memorial. That way, if the town does get money, we have it earmarked for the memorial only, but it's not a separate fund anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So that makes sense to
That
me.
makes sense.
Sure.
So, this 272 is, I agreed with Penny, Dorothy Bookmarkle's husband. There was money set aside at one point many years ago when this started for a bench in his name. And quite honestly, I don't know where that money went, probably got absorbed in the construction, so we went half and half on that bench. So, I thought that was the best thing to do.
That was a while ago,
Mhm.
that was, I remember that.
Yeah, they do.
distinct.
Now that you bring it up.
Yeah.
Another impact fee is police, so Evergreen Industries, their payment to police fund was $99.22. Did not expend for any expenditures this year, kind of hoping to build this fund up for the new police department.
What can we use those impact fees on?
On new, the way it's worded in your budget book that you have, and I'll give you another one, is specified for how the ordinance is set up for impact fees. So storm drainage has to be for not maintenance, but new storm drain.
Okay.
So this can't be for like maintaining the cop car's existing PV side, it has to be for new
For the new building?
new facilities.
Or the new
Something to
park?
provide additional service
Additional
for what
service.
you just added to town, right? In theory.
It just can't be used for routine operations and maintenance. And the last one's public facilities, it's one of our newer ones. Evergreen Industries paid $27,562. And this is where the community center was, I got ahead of myself over there. We budgeted $100,000, so far we spent $152,910, and that's pretty much it for the year.
Is that what the insurance payment?
The insurance, Mary said we need they called today on that.
They haven't paid out for the most recent, the hail and water damage, they haven't
So there will be some revenues coming in.
to us. We pay everything up front and submit the invoices to them and they reimburse.
Right.
So I don't know what that amount will be. So,
We budgeted 100, but after the insurance paid us back, that's gonna throw us over budget. After the insurance pays us back, were we over the 100? Or under?
I think we had raised it to 116 was the total pre-budgeted, because remember we raised it for the HVAC system?
HVAC system, then we have the big water damage, so that's part of what this insurance payment is. I'm curious to see if we get maybe 50,000 or 40,000.
So we've been pretty close, really.
So I
We didn't
think,
budget 116, we approved 116.
yes.
Yes.
And then in June, I remember calling the mayor during CML saying, we have an issue. We have mold in the wall, which was discovered because of the water damage. Capital improvement fund, I'm gonna hold off till next week, because it's a capital project discussion, as well as the sidewalk fund. Oversized, overweight, this is based upon oil and gas drilling really, and there hasn't been anything in recent years. Part of this is we've transferred from, this is another one David Green's gonna look at combining into the capital fund overall. So we budget, revenue from the capital improvement fund every year, because years ago we had Anadarko built this new bridges over here on County Road 30 and 32. They're culverts basically, but they're called bridges. And in order to do that, the town went to agreement with them that we would start setting aside money for bridge repairs in the future. So this is how we do it. So this fund is actually building up a little bit, but it's because of the annual transfer, is what it is. Some years we transfer 50, this last year we transferred 25.
Under that agreement, did we state a specific amount?
It did.
Okay.
They did. That's what they and I looked at. So something within reason. I will tell you, 129,000 won't get you very far, but a few years ago we did spend around 33,000 on the bridge repairs from the inspection on 32.5.
Yeah.
So as long as we don't have to replace a bridge, as long as we can do maintenance, we'll be okay.
Was there something compromising that bridge there at 32.5 in that inspection? They said that,
There were some safety road issues, and the main thing, the big cost is you wanna look at the salt and the corrosion underneath the pillars where the water hits, and that seemed to be pretty decent out there. This is more cosmetic, is what they called it. Some surface joint where the road connects to the bridge, there's repairs on both sides of the bridge.
but nothing that would be involving replacing that in the next 20 years.
Not structural, it still ranks pretty high.
Okay, alright.
Or high enough. The nice thing is CDOT has come out with some bridge grant funds, maintenance funds for major repairs, for, basically off-route systems. Like this is a county road, town road, so this is called an off-route bridge system. And, we've never had to go after some of those funds yet, but they're out there. I don't know if we get
Well, rather than use our funds, I mean, is that a possibility if we need to do cosmetic maintenance or just maintenance in general, use that fund? We have to use ours first, and then,
Yeah, theirs is for when it gets, there's a scale and grading of 0 to 100. And this bridge, I believe, is still the 60 percentile. When it gets below, I think 40, I have to defer to David on that. That's when you have to decommission the bridge and take it offline, quote unquote, which is closing it, or you have to do the repairs to bring it back up to.
and that's when it would qualify for the CDOT.
That would qualify for these off
Okay.
route, it's not the term, it's off something, off system bridge grant. Perpetual care is, of course, a percentage that goes from lot sales at cemetery. This 127,000 actually isn't there. 100,000 of that is invested into that 2-year bond, but we still show it here because it's still in our assets. And the interest of this is what we can use for maintenance of the cemetery, very restricted. And by statute, perpetual care fund has to stay separate.
So if we update our budget, do we modify some statutes to make it easier to condense?
No, we just have to follow the funds that are required by statute to be separate, like conservation trust, we'll leave those alone.
Okay.
Those are all state mandated
State
statutes.
mandated.
Yeah, we can't
Okay.
change
And
those.
water and sewer, those are enterprise funds, those
Gotcha.
have to be separate, they have to be their own fund.
If we go to home rule, we can do whatever we want.
But none of this budgetary statutes you're referring to are Platteville statutes, they're all
It's all
Colorado.
state, it's all Colorado state
Okay.
statute. I'll briefly on the sewer fund, we can pick it up next week when David's back, but as far as the revenues, as you can see, the increase from this year that we started drastically increased the revenues, especially in the upkeep, which is our base rates. Because that's where we increased them 53%.
53%.
So this is a placeholder. Once Rob Tellis does that study that the board approved last week, then we'll have a better idea what 2020's rate increase will be. Right now, according to the study we had done this last December, it's supposed to be 14%.
Everybody's saying that we're really high. If that's the case, are all the other municipalities losing money on their water and sewer?
Well, everybody's a little different on how they do water and sewer. That's the thing. Some of them are part of, like, Tri-Town, they're all part of St. Mary's Sanitation.
Okay.
So they're paying a fee
It's pass through.
as a pass-through. They don't have to maintain their own system.
It's a substantial fee then, I assume.
The last month, at my monthly managers meeting, I was talking to Claude Haynes and Chris Cross, the manager and assistant manager for London. They have a $20 million mandate from CDPHE for upgrades down there. They don't know how, but I mean, they have tons of water assets,
Claude's leaving in December.
and Claude's retiring.
Welcome to the game, Chris.
So Chris is like pulling his hair out, he says, I don't know how to deal with a $20 million upgrade. So we're not the only ones, people, I mean, I don't open the utility bill for London, so I'm not gonna criticize them, I only criticize Platteville.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
But, you know, I talked to Dave, and I said, what do you pay for water, sewer, and Loveland? And he's being charged out of Loveland town rates, like we charge, like 110% of the normal route. Then, and his water and sewer alone is higher than ours.
Really?
But our utility bill though is water, sewer, trash, street light, and sidewalk.
And that's the thing, for me, trash is substantially less than what we paid when we lived in Fort Lupton.
Yeah, it's double pretty much everybody else's. Not quite double, but we're charging what, $23 a month? And a lot of places charge like 14 or 10. But they're restricted.
I paid twice what we are paying here in Platteville in Fort Lupton.
Oh, you
Right,
did,
I
okay.
think the trash service is actually fairly reasonable.
Yeah, you,
Yeah, every week.
Just don't tell the trash
$5,
company.
$5 a
Oh,
week,
they'll come
right?
and get it.
Like 50
Yeah.
bucks a month.
$5 a week is what you're paying, right?
yeah, that's just it. Some of the other towns we looked at that charge less, they restricted. You can have like 2 containers, 3 containers, and that's
Yeah,
it.
I've never had to say anything about it.
No, you can leave a mountain of,
Christmas is bad at our house.
It's
We
really-
have the whole family.
Some of this, the water, aside from the sewage plant, which we all familiar with, some of the water rates, it's just come to the realization that this is a high plains desert. It has less than 17 inches of annual precipitation. Water is gonna be chronically scarce, has been, it's gonna continue to be worse. So the price of the water is going up. I don't like it any better than anybody else does, but that's the
But it's just
reality
not
of.
secluded to our town, it's.
No, it's the reality of the region.
it's never,
Yeah, it's never gonna get any
I
better.
agree.
It's never gonna be cheap either.
The only
But then again, you
solution,
don't get 50 inches of rainfall every year, and your biggest problem is, where do we make it run off?
Yeah.
I've lived in places like that where they actually put an additional property tax line item on to improve the drainage of the rivers.
Yeah.
Because there was so much water coming down, they actually had to spend money to take tires and refrigerators and tree branches out of the river so it would flow someplace. Because it was backing up and turning profitable farm ground into wetlands.
Yeah, right, that.
So they tagged the extra to make the water go away.
Colorado's one of 2 states in the United States where there's no water tributaries that come into the state. All the water goes out of the state.
We got new jobs for those pipeliners to start piping water to those, for those states, to this state.
No, the state is Hawaii.
Yeah.
so I guess I have 2 points on this vein, is one, the argument of Loveland, this and that, I don't know, the amenities that you're afforded in Loveland are triple what we can offer here. I don't know if you can connect those 2 dots fairly, but I think somebody can, right? I agree it's apples and oranges, but
Yeah.
you paying that much, but you live in Loveland where you can go to, rec center or whatever you wanna do, right? So that makes it a little easier probably for those people to pay that much. Secondly, the only solution I see versus raising rates on people is to cost share revenues off of our citizens, essentially, right? You know what I mean? Like we put a policy of.
Essentially, that would mean reducing the rates.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't really be a cost, or you just reduce the rates of usage, is what you do.
Right, or it's to forego the 14% rate hike and just eat that.
But the issue is, just talk about sewer alone, talking Don Sandoval. You cannot supplement a sewer fund with general fund money. We put some reserves aside in Colorado Trust to help initially offset and build a sewer screen. It's like $247,000. Talking to Don Sandoval and CDPHE, we can put in money up to 10% of the total capital cost of a new plant out of non-sewer fund money without violating our sewer fund, basically. So I'm gonna leave that money alone, because we'll apply that toward this new system. But as far as operations, it has to, these are our 2 business funds.
Right.
The only 2 business funds we have. And so they have to be separate from all the other funds, and they have to be treated like business accounts.
So they have to be solvent, for
They
sure.
have to be solvent.
But we don't have to go after profit gouging on our
No.
citizens, right?
And that's just it. I see what's going on next door and this and that. The sewer fund is increasing its cash assets because we have a huge multi-million-dollar facility.
Yes.
And our O&M after that is going to increase no matter what type of facility we build.
Right.
So at the end of the day, we're not trying to make a profit, we're trying to break even. And people outside of government, they don't understand that.
Right.
The government only has the money to people.
Yeah.
People don't realize we
Yeah.
are, we fund
We are.
ourselves, we are our.
So on the expenditure side, so we're gonna come back to this, cause hopefully in the next few weeks I'll have some answers from Rob Tellis, but salaries and wages basically the same. Going to, David submitted a budget basically frozen across the board. There's really, if you look at the last two columns, 19 and 20, everything's essentially the same. There's not hardly any change. Cassell went down, thanks to Mary, it's now assist. 5,000 next year is actually a high number. I know there's been headaches in the transition, I get that. But instead of paying over 20,000 a year between general fund, water and sewer, we're probably paying what, 5,000 a year total? 4. So the long-term savings, that was our goal. It is huge. We're saving about 15,000, 16,000. But I still left it at 5 to each fund, just as cautious. Engineering services, we have a little bit because I don't know what Steve's gonna be involved in with this new facility, but probably not a whole lot.
How long is Steve gonna keep working as an engineer?
Not much longer. He's been hitting more. He and his wife bought some horse property. He's a big horse guy. They ride horses up outside Fort Collins.
He's gonna need to keep working then.
Yeah.
That's not a profitable business, I know.
But, you know,
No, it's not.
kids are through some college. He openly talks to Dave and I about the grandkids. I mean, he's at that point where he's coming close, and he's hinted around.
Okay.
So it's coming in the next year or two probably. Utilities about the same as of right now. I mean, this is just status quo.
Is safe built in this line item, or whoever we pay for that?
Now, safe built would be out of planning zone for building permits, yeah.
And then no more, right? We're not using, since we have our own code enforcement, do we use them still for other items?
Well, not for building inspection. Code enforcement is for like nuisance violations, stuff.
Right. But we still use safe build for.
We use safe build, and if we have a project like the senior center, veteran or this, they will do the plan review, but they won't charge us.
Is Sigfeld the only company out there?
No, there's Colorado Inspection Services. I think they're out of Johnstown.
That's the reason I brought it up, is what's the price compared, when's the last time you shopped that?
We looked at them years ago, and we stayed with safe build. The Colorado Inspection Services was a little bit less. There's not that many out there, honestly. A couple of years ago, I talked to Claude Fort Lupton. They thought about bringing on a full-time building inspector, then we cost share.
Oh.
And that just kind of went by the wayside, so I think Chris Cross is the assistant, and they'll make him full-time. Maybe we should talk about that.
Well,
Yeah, especially with their $20 million mandate.
also, just a little insight there, my neighbor works for Safe Build. Her husband quit because they're downsizing his inspection department. And then she changed jobs, they're looking for another job because they're talking about downsizing the maintenance department. So they might be trying to dissolve something here locally.
And they very well could be. I've heard some different rumors.
And I had talked to a company at CML,
Mhm.
you know, about this as well, they were trying to solicit us, as they do, you know. But we had put a bid out, is that how you do it?
An RFP.
An RFP out for services, and Dave and I talked a little bit, you know, when was the last time we actually did that, and it was 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
We
It's
cut
been a
our-
long while for all of everybody we contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that time,
Look into.
we were still very pleasantly happy with KBN. Steve but there, been engineer since early '90s. But we did RFP out, legal counsel and planning services, and we did change those.
Okay.
We stayed with Safewell at the time, but that's a discussion we need to have this next year.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack your.
No. So here, this new treatment facility, this is the one I looked at the most. So we looked at doing a design engineering, of course we came upon the Grossman technology, so we're not gonna spend the other $450 obviously. So the 90,000 is we've spent this much today, and I add the money that we're anticipating for the pilot study with Gross Winds and JVA. Okay?
When you guys leaving?
here, it's the day after Veterans Day. November 12th. Leaving, they're not coming back.
It's a one-way ticket.
A long-way ticket.
How
So,
have we spent 61,000 on that this year, Troy?
I'll have to give you an itemized breakdown on what that is.
Just an idea, don't.
Well, if I go down to, where's it at? Utility plan. See, we haven't spent a dime on it. See, so David Green put it all up here.
Okay.
7,000 for pump lift station, I think he put it up here. So those are, when we went from Cassell to assist, if he saw line items that weren't being utilized, he combined them.
Yeah.
And he did that in admin, so I will have an answer for you.
I was just like, well, what have we really spent on that this year? Not a whole lot, right?
Well, we did a contract with JVA and Ralph tell us initially, well, that was actually last year, so I'll have to look at this. This is mostly engineering. So I met with Don Sandoval, David and I called in, we have a contract, a DOLA grant pending that we applied for and received for $200,000 for the design engineering for the pilot study. And as we recall, our pilot study in Platteville was about $800,000. Long story short, CDPHE didn't basically accept or deny the pilot study, they just said, do it this way, so that's what we're doing. Don was a little disappointed we didn't do the pilot study in Platteville, because he wanted that kind of feather in our hat, so to speak. But he understands we want to pay $40,000, not $800,000 for a pilot study. I said, the thing is, we sat down in my office and we read the grant. It is for a pilot study in Platteville, Colorado. I said, I want to lose this $200,000. So the grant expires in September of 2021. The bad news is Don Sandoval's retiring January 8th. He's no longer with DOLA.
Oh, no kidding.
January 8th, he's done. That's his last day.
Wow.
You know, I haven't replaced me yet.
2020.
They better get it soon.
Yeah,
No.
3 months.
You better
In 3
butter up this guy too.
So,
Or gal.
doesn't have replaced me yet, and they actually haven't advertised it yet.
Pull it out of the entertainment fund.
Yeah. But what
Wine and dine him a little
Yeah.
bit there, you know?
But what Don said, and I hold him to his word, he said, write me a detailed email or memo of our conversation that I told you that during the time frame of this grant, which expires in 2 years basically, that if pilot study at Slater, Iowa is successful, we could redo the contract to say it would go toward the design engineering of the pilot study results for Platteville, the new wastewater system.
Is that a speculation of his on how things might move forward after he's gone, or can we get that right?
Well, he's gonna put in the file, he said, I can't guarantee you anything.
Okay.
But when a regional manager leaves DOLA, if they have pending projects, the new manager, if it's already in the queue, we'll just finish those projects out.
So there'll be documentation of the conversation, so there's not gonna be,
Yeah,
you know,
I
misconception.
can't guarantee it, but he felt pretty comfortable that he's gonna sit down with all his pending projects with the new regional manager and go over each one with them, is how he explained it. And then, if the money's already in the queue reserved for us, it's just we're gonna tweak what we're gonna use it for. He thought it was very likely that we'd be able to get that money.
Okay.
So that's why I went to 300,000, because we still had 200,000. So that'd be $500,000 grant, or 500,000 design engineering, and that's way above estimate. So I lowered that a little bit. Right now, we're looking at some, we're dipping into, expenditure or revenues, but that's at 300,000. We just don't know yet. Cash on hand in the sewer fund, it's building up, but we're still about 1.3 million.
As long as we stay over $1 million.
What's that?
As long as we stay over $1 million, we'll be good.
The water fund doesn't have a ton of money, it's just under $1 million, as far as cash. The thing about this is we increased, I think, 1% this last year, maybe 2%, but people have been using water, believe it or not.
I can't believe that.
Wasn't
it's so nice and wet out here, we've been taking advantage of that moisture we got this year.
So I'm anticipating a 2% increase, but I need to do a little more research for next year. And the reason I say that, going down to expenditures, I'm gonna scroll this down just a tiny bit here. Right here, David received a letter from Northern Water that they're giving us an 18% increase next year for treating CBT water. You heard that too, Harold?
Guys, they were gonna jack it, yeah.
So that freaked me out at first. And then I get the letter from Central World Water on our demand charge. Those are our two biggest expenses. They're actually decreasing our demand charge from $880 a month to $800 a month.
But I thought they were increasing, somebody's increasing like 4% every year until 2040 or something. What is that?
On water. I haven't heard that on water. I just got the letter from Northern that they're increasing all users of CBT water in the North Front Range by 18%. Not just Platteville.
They're another government type agency, they wanna keep on.
So what is that, you're doing a study to figure out if we need to raise or not? Potentially could wash or we don't have to?
It could be, but I definitely want to never have another year where we don't increase water and sewer at least by 2%. That's just gonna be the standard from now on.
Even if there's not a rate increase on the back end?
It always, I mean, there's always an increase in both these funds for something, utilities, labor, maintenance, so it's not just treatment. So there's always an increase.
And
We
maybe
were,
they don't
we were in
increase
the
for-
red too for a long
Oh,
time.
yes.
We've gotta make sure we keep money in there.
And even if they don't increase for like 3 or 4 years, then all of a sudden they increase by 18%, you know?
So the reason to answer Spencer's question, I went down to the bottom here, revenues or expenditures. We're not bringing in a lot more revenues or expenditures. And the thing is, like Dave and I talked about, we really need to start putting some capital back into our water system. We need to start replacing water lines, we need to start replacing valves, we've been replacing meters every year. So we're focused on sewer, but we can't ignore the other big grill in the room, which is the water fund.
Big elephant.
And I have in my office an estimate from Steve Pateras for $750,000 to increase the pressure of Platteville by replacing two 6-inch lines from the water tanks to a 12-14-inch line, which can increase our PSI pressure. If you notice, we've got two hydrants over by Spencer and over by Riverview Park that are covered, we're put out of service. They can't meet the water flow PSI pressure. So I don't want to ignore the water fund because
That makes people's insurance go up too, doesn't it?
yeah.
When the hydrant goes away?
You always want to be within 200 feet of a hydrant or something like that.
And if you boost the pressure, then you just you chase leaks for months or years after that, and all your aged infrastructure that you overpressurize, you know what I mean? Everything's gotten used to this kind of low pressure, and then you're gonna throw an additional 20 PSI at it.
No, we're not trying to increase it that much, but yeah.
Well,
It's a good point.
that's like, a third dog patch. They were used to, let's say 40 PSI. And, you know, if we cranked it up, well, I'd have cranked up to 55. Which means the people down at 31 went up substantially. Cause if we're talking up at the top of the hill, I was putting out 55, where at their, well, at 50, they were 75, 80, so. And these are old single wide trailers. So if you boosted it up to where they'd have, you know, these optimal 60, 80 PSI. I'd have been pulling everybody down there 31 out of the ground.
So I want to talk maybe more about the water fund to see what the increase should be. Even with 18%, it's not taking a big dent of our budget, so I don't want to. With the sewer going to go up no matter what to some, I think it's going to be 5%. Hopefully I'm right, not 14%. The one I want to mention tonight on this one is this water line installation. This is for the Reynolds Avenue project. So next Tuesday, we talk about capital projects, I'll show you throughout the budget where I split that $1.5 million project for Reynolds Avenue into 2 years. Next year is essentially water line replacement, all through Reynolds. And then all the storm drains and pond improvements. And then year 2, in 2021, is where curb, gutter, sidewalk pavement goes into effect. We can pay for all this next year, but we're gonna really dip into our reserve fund, which I really hesitate to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you don't know what else is going down the line with could happen.
We don't know if the water tank goes out or.
With our increase,
You also bring contractors in twice and pull the ground up twice and those sort of things, right?
Well, these contracts, I don't know if they'd be the same or different, but yeah, you're right, you're gonna have two years of mobilization fees.
Right.
And it's always better to do a big project at once, but this is a big project. We've never done a project $1.5 million in 1 year. So that's what we proposing next year, I'm not sure of our numbers.
It's a good time to start.
Show me the
When
money.
you boost pressures, you find out where all your little leaks are hiding.
And next week I'll give you, I know I had some spreadsheets for you guys to turn in whenever you have a chance, but put together a spreadsheet going back to when the capital improvement fund was adopted in December of 2009. Basically putting together a street and sidewalk maintenance review for the last 10 years, along with a 5-year proposal to help guide the conversation. Basically, next Tuesday, we have to prioritize some capital projects, what we need to do. So, streets, sidewalks, public facilities, water, sewer, parks, vehicles and equipment. There's a long list, so. That's really all I had for tonight. We'll go back to our water sewer one, but if you look at both of these, and I'm gonna print you off a new copy after tonight, I sent it out to you by Friday. The water and sewer, just operations and maintenance really has not changed.
even with the increase.
The 19 to the 20, the sewer fund is about putting money aside for that new treatment facility. That's what it's all about. The water fund, even though we had an 18% increase down here on the demand charge or the water treatment charge from Northern Water, there's only an 18,000 increase out of the $1 million fund. So I'm not too overly concerned about that right now. Don't want to forget about the water fund, but the sewer fund is the big grill right now we have to tackle.
I don't see how you don't pass that whole increase off on the rates. I mean, even if it's 18,000 divided by 900 taps annually, you have to pass that cost through.
Well,
There's no reason why
That's something
the
to
sewer
use.
fund should eat the increase.
oh, you mean on the water treatment charge?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, our two biggest, let me scroll back down, the two biggest charges that we have for water, outside of maintenance and operations,
Treatment and.
are these two, demand and treatment. So that's what I need to talk to Dave more about. We had an 18% increase in the purchase, but we had a decrease in demand. And that's what we're really hitting our customers with.
So it potentially could be a wash.
It won't be a wash, but it won't be an 18% increase.
So you mean it's a decrease in the usage?
The demand charge, they received a letter from Northern, who treats our water, for the 18% increase. I received a letter from Central World Water that supplies our water from Northern, that they're decreasing it by $800 a month.
Oh, they're decreasing, this is a decrease in the water usage.
So I need to do some calculations on what 18% is for the purchase and figure out what the percentage is. I don't have a percentage for the decrease in Central. I just have a dollar amount, so I need to do that math. So yeah, you're right, Larry. I mean, if we increase, we have to pass it on to some extent, but
Pass it all through.
if we don't have to though, and our budget still,
You said
If you don't pass it all
$800 a
through,
month?
then you're losing
Are you
money
increasing
somewhere.
But if it decreases on the well water and increased on the water treatment, like Troy said, it might be wash, you don't have to pass it.
Well, if they're
Oh,
decreasing about $800 a
that's
month,
true, yeah.
and then
But if
$18,000,
if it's a
$18,000
net
a year,
increase in cost to the town,
Yeah, I understand
whether
that.
it's
aspect.
demand charge or treatment
that's
combined,
what you'll be left with an increase in
whatever
that for
increase
both of
cost that
everybody.
is to us,
How much was it?
goes on the bill.
8,400.
Yeah, it's 8,400 for, you know, of an increase for both of those charges for the entire year. So that would be,
Divided by 900
well,
some odd taps.
that's for a year, so let's divide it
Right.
by 12, so that's 700. So you're talking $1 a tap
Okay,
or less.
then pass it through, Doggy. I
Right.
mean,
Well, that's why.
why should the sewer fund or the water fund eat the loss?
Yeah, no, I hear
There's
you.
no-
Because
there's
the
no-
only
you can't
reason I
justify
see
that.
is because the town has extra revenues. We've exceeded our revenue
It's
projection for the year.
$1,500 a month
Oh,
for the
This
in
is
the
the
general
citizens'
fund?
town.
Is what?
In the general fund?
The citizens, this is the citizens' town, right?
yes.
So
Well,
if
get that.
the town does better budgetarily, why don't we
That's
pass that on to our
Well,
citizens?
the argument is that the water fund is a separate enterprise fund
It ends up being
that has to
$8,400.
stand alone, stand on its own.
Yes.
It can't, if it has a shortage, we can't take money from the general fund and subsidize it. It has to provide for itself, am I right?
Yeah.
And what I'm proposing right now, and we haven't got to this officially, is I'm looking at a 2% increase for water and sewer upkeep and consumption annually. So I'm gonna work with Dave to see what that will come out revenue wise and see how that offsets our increase. Is that fair?
Yes.
So we'll talk about that Tuesday a little bit more in depth, next Tuesday. That'll be on topic. Okay.
Yeah, I'll work with Dave on both of those topics.
My concern is that we've already increased the water and sewage for the plant. And I think any more increase, and I know what you're saying, you can't eat it because they'll be running our funds in a deficit or running it down. You have more holes in your bucket than you have water going in. But my concern is adding more on to what we've already done last year. Because we went for that maximum increase just to get it done out of the way,
But the
right?
maximum increase also included a 14% the following year and another 14% the following year.
Yeah.
Right.
So we were hoping, because of the money we could save, that we wouldn't have to, but maybe it'll be an increase of 6%. We don't have to do the entire 14% that we were told we had to do, but that's what Rotellus is gonna tell us, right?
For this following year. So it may not be 14 for this 2020 year.
I'm comfortable, not confident, comfortable that won't be 14%.
Okay.
So something less than what
I
we're
think it'll
telling
be
us.
about half that.
Okay.
Just because they're looking at, the capital cost for both facilities is about the same. But the O&M is what we're looking at, what Rob tells us we're looking at.
Okay.
And that's how we're gonna decrease that percentage from next year. And Simon from JV took a weekend estimate, basically, I asked him on a Friday, Monday respond, he said he was guessing based upon his number of calculations that it'd be about 5%. But he said, I'm not certified to do this, so that's why we need to have Rob tell us to do this.
Okay.
Cause like, we have a town attorney that's gonna argue with us that if you do any increases, you have to have that quote rational nexus, just like an impact.
Yeah, we
fee.
can't just make up fees
We just can't make.
and
Right.
increases.
Well, I know it's all based on a calculation, but
So, it's not, just humor me for a second, please, everyone. It's not an option for us, so this year, where we grossly exceeded our,
Sales tax.
no, the severance tax expectation.
Mhm.
It's not, can we not establish a policy that if we exceed, if those revenues exceed a certain number, we will just put that back into these funds to limit fees on our citizens?
No, because
Some sort of give back?
budget's run by statute.
You need
State
to
statute.
keep your enterprise funds separate, pretend you don't even have a general fund. Just pretend, for example, that all we do is we maintain water and sewer for the town.
So enterprise funds are run like businesses, standalone businesses, right? So they shouldn't have anything to do with your general fund.
Yeah, I
We
know
haven't
where you're,
borrowed
I know where you're
against
trying to
it.
go with it, but
it's like one business giving
There's
another
no way
business.
to work that out somehow?
Statutorily, no, there isn't.
State of Colorado.
and
You can give it back in another way.
You could,
Please,
Pay for
Mary,
the streetlights.
you can pay for the streetlights.
You can absorb the streetlights, you can reduce the
Sidewalk.
sidewalk fee. I mean, I
But you
wouldn't
can't
mess
mess
with
with
water
water
sewer
and
rates at
sewer.
all,
No,
at all. I mean,
But I'm trying to find ways to lower that bill. If we're gonna raise rates, the bill's gonna go
Well-
up. So what are some ways we can bring it back down?
Right.
you know, your
At least
biggest,
on a level,
There's
Your
people in
biggest-
this town that aren't gonna come to a point where they can't afford it. Like,
Well,
literally they can't.
another out of the box idea is, you know, cut your trash rates to your customers in half, the town absorbs the other half. I mean, there's different ways, like Mary said, you know, don't charge the streetlight, just pay for it all.
Right.
You know, in some towns it says a streetlight fee, a lot of towns don't, they just pay for it. You know,
If we go to, well, and are they all moved over to LEDs now?
all of our copers are. But, I mean, really, it's $3.50 a resident, so it's not gonna be a big impact.
but it's still something.
It
It
shows
is
that we
something.
tried to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, I mean,
Well,
So, let me-
you're still looking at a $5 billion sewer plant
right.
and increasing costs of water and its treatment. And you've got a couple.
You know, it's not us doing it, it's the state.
Well,
We have
exactly, I
to.
mean, you know, these are just the reality on the ground that.
well,
the state-
I'm
understanding
just
that,
trying
we're
to-
looking at other
Sewer
options
plant.
of trying to minimize the impact on our citizens.
The town is doing good in revenues right now, so why can't we share that with our citizens? This is the citizens' town, it's their money.
The only thing I'm hesitant to be devil's advocate is we're doing good now. If you implement something, you gotta make sure you can do it when the times are bad.
What
Or
was
can-
that cut you had to make the first year you were manager?
What's
You
that?
cut the budget by how much, $750,000?
200,000.
Okay.
We just got out of red.
I remember when I first started being a trustee and this was all red, all red.
I'm not trying to put us in the red, I'm just trying
Right,
to,
so
I
we
know
can't go
people.
spending money just to satisfy the citizens because they're complaining about the water bill. We have to have this money in case if something major happens, it'll put us back in the red.
And what Spencer and I are getting at is maybe there's other options, that we don't put us in the red, we're not defunding anything, but I'm just saying, is, I don't know.
The money's
That's what
coming
you're
from
trying to get
somewhere.
at too.
And I agree with you with your point, but can't we put stop gaps in other policies we put in that if the money's not there, we can't do it, so.
Like the
can we
Parks,
put
Trails
a-
and Trees Committee?
Can we put a stop gap in that if, you know, when years that revenues exceed expenditures, these fees won't be assessed, and when they're not, then they'll go back to being assessed.
We have a lot more control in the general fund, because if we don't do any capital projects in the general fund, I mean, we're bringing in probably $500,000 in revenues or expenses every year. But that's not how we work. We put $100,000 for patching streets every year, we put $10,000 for bulk improvements every year. I mean, those are things that we do to go above and beyond just general maintenance. Water and sewer, I know it's tough, but you don't wanna mix that with general fund at all. They have to be
Right.
standalone.
I agree, so you have to look at the ancillary stuff, like you
So,
said, like the
if
side
you wanna
streets,
re-
streetlights and the trash.
If you wanna if you wanna reduce your utility bill and your customers, you know, we're bringing in $188,000, $190,000 a year from our customers for trash services. But not all of that goes out to B and C, okay, so let's take a look at the expenditures. So keep in mind $190,
How much is everyone paying for trash right now? 22?
23, Mary?
23.
Fort Lupton just got a contract with another company. Now, I don't love this idea because B&C is their local family-run business, right? Fort Lupton just got a contract with a different waste management company that offers recycling, $13 a resident. Recycling, the bins are provided.
A month?
Yes.
You're restricted to how much, you can't. put-
Yeah, you're restricted. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty typical for most trash services, restrict you. This is the only place I've ever lived where you just pile mountains of trash.
They say fine. You'll take whatever you put
And it
out.
will seriously impact the local family, you know, a business. But, you know, I mean,
One idea here is I looked and we bring in around just say 190,000 from revenues for trash. because we have an admin fee we assess, I think it's $1.50 per account. And we pay B and C on average about $175,000. So there's a $15,000 revenue that we keep off trash services. And that's for admin expenses for,
He's our employee.
you know, for Charlene and Mary and Devin and Kathy to process utility payments and stuff envelopes and all the fun stuff that we receive. So, I would say sleep on that for a week and we'll bring that back up next Tuesday, to be honest with you.
I mean, everything's going up in every town. Right, people are only gonna complain about their town because they don't have another bill to complain about, to compare it to.
I guess it just goes back to the increase of treatment and the decrease in water. I guess work those numbers and talk Tuesday.
It's $8,400 a year
To the plus, that we know.
that we have to increase.
And that's, it's gonna be pennies on the dollar when we actually throw it across the board.
Yeah.
That's why I'd like
And with
to.
the possibility of not having to do the 14% next year.
Well, on the water side, I'm still looking at offsetting that increase with about 1-2% increase in water. And that would make up your pennies on the dollar for your increase from.
But you can't argue with that. I mean, we have infrastructure that needs to be upgraded. And I totally agree with you guys,
Well,
it's a solvent business, right? I get it. So, but you see what I'm saying too, we have senior citizens that Social Security only pays them this much, right?
Oh, I know. I
Right.
hear about it every time.
So if there's ways we can work, I wanna put contingencies in there, if the town's not doing good, everybody's gotta pay. But when the town is doing good, why can't we share the wealth a little bit in ways, in some small way?
Figuring out the best way to do that.
Usually though, when the government's doing well, it's because the people are doing well, too. But, like you say,
We
there's
have
those
a
ones that,
particular industry that's doing well, and that doesn't necessarily mean everyone is benefiting from it.
True.
yeah,
And you know, like you mentioned the seniors, and obviously most of them are working a lot of, actually quite a few.
Quite a few
actually
more
work
still
part-time.
working.
But, exactly, I'm just thinking about the one I see at the senior center
Right.
meals.
Social Security,
And
Is it?
Social Security, and like Larry says, 1.6% next year, so we're gonna increase sewer 5%, water 2%, I mean, you know, it's tough,
It is tough.
it is very tough. And
But, you know, I don't wanna see us back where we were either. I mean,
Yeah, and that, if,
that scares me when people start complaining about what we charge and stuff. They don't realize what, I didn't go through what Troy went through. I mean, years of people not getting wage increase, years of not, this town was on the downside.
nothing was getting done.
Nothing.
if the cost, let's just, as an example, if the cost of acquiring the water is 4%, to pass it through is not gouging anybody. It's not,
If they went to the water company themselves, that's what they'd be charged.
exactly. I mean, it's not like our increase cost is 4% and we're jacking the rate 9%.
Right, right,
We're just passing the cost,
right.
the increased cost through to the consumer. You know, it's the same, I mean, think oil goes to $110 a barrel, and your price at the pump is gonna be $4.50. Because the people who run oil companies, refineries and so on, have gotta pass the cost through. Costs them more to get it into the refinery, plus their cost to refine it and ship it to the gas station. Guess who's gonna pay more? The consumer. Same way with the water.
If we say double, almost 50% more tax, what does that do for rates? Does that help distribute costs, or does that just drive everything up? Because now you need to serve,
We have to have more shares.
and you have more infrastructure to service.
This dog chases.
I was just trying to see
Well,
if that, if growth helped or hurt in the rate, like,
If you didn't have to increase the
No.
infrastructure,
it's a wash.
You pay X number of dollars per gallon.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever does.
You can find a way to make the rate bar greater, as part of, part of your problem was with, just come up with that answer.
Well, I was thinking about this, a couple years ago, the board agreed to put water rates in tiers. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mary, but the one rate for up to 10,000 gallons,
15.
or 15,000 gallons, then from 15,001 to 20 or 25.
25, I think, and then.
So one thing is to pass that on to the two highest tiers, and leave the average tier that probably senior citizens are on, everybody, most people alone. And that way, if you're willing to water more or use more water, you're willing to pay more. So that's one idea we can talk about. Which, that's not gonna guarantee revenue. I mean, your guaranteed revenue in water and sewage are base rates. So, that's where your guaranteed money comes in, because you can't get out of base rates. Unless you physically disconnect your services from the town system.
Could we even have like a super budget number, like 5,000, you know what I'm saying, like you're gonna use 2,500 gallons or less a month. Your rate is,
Working establishment.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you,
It's,
we came
does that
up
make
with.
sense here?
under 6,000 is an average, 5,000-6,000 is an average household. Old people, less than that, I'll guarantee you.
Right.
But an average is 5,000-6,000 gallons a month.
Yeah.
You got these people trying to grow grass and solid sand,
Struggle is real, my friend.
Now, people don't conserve water. In the summertime, there's a lot of water in the gutter. So they can't complain to us that we're charging too much when they're not conserving themselves.
So I think next week, I'll work with David between now and then, we'll take a look and Mary to look at our water rate structure, because we're bringing that up anyway. We're gonna bring it for our fee schedule. On the fee schedule, Carl has a couple fees to increase, Jan's gonna increase all rec fees $5 for every sport. And the water sewer base rates and usage, right now I have stated for increases. So with those increases, let's look at the rates for both water and sewer, because we established a rate system. If you do that, the town will lose some money. I mean, it will. But if it's only impacting a percentage of people that are trying to be conservative, then there's maybe some justification. So,
You can potentially make it up in your higher tiers, right?
that's why I always start with the general fund when we talk about budget, because that's typically the easier discussion. Now we're in the hard discussions. And, water and sewers, tough ones now, because we're under mandate. We don't have a choice. We're gonna pay no matter what. So, and CBT's about done in Colorado. I heard somebody say in the next 5 years with the current active role of development, that's on the CBT service, the CBT will be maxed out in 5 years.
That's why you have a long period.
What about those NIS shares that were available?
Yeah, you look at that again. Fort Lupton has some niche shares that they're wanting to sell us, and right now they're just paying maintenance on them. So they had like 3,000 shares of NISP,
Okay.
and NISP is bought up. There's 13 or 14 cities, municipalities that bought into NISP. Fort Lupton's willing to sell some shares. 100 to 150 bucks a year, but that's just for your maintenance. But then once that facility out northeast of us gets built, then you're gonna be paying for all the 13 or 14 towns will be jointly paying for long-term bond to pay off the infrastructure. That's when you're gonna be paying quite a bit more, like 35,000 to 40,000 a share. So you're gonna
Or
have to,
just each, like a one-time order.
they're gonna be giving us, for example, if we own this, according to what Claude told me for Liberty, they're gonna say, okay, we're done in 3 years, 4 years. Your share based upon the number of units of water that you bought into this system is $2 million. And then we can go into contract with them for the next 20 years to pay that off annually, like a bond,
Okay,
without going out to a bond
we're
company.
not actually being in debt.
No, we're in debt to paying off the shares, but
Right.
he thought those shares, Port Lupton is calculating that when NISP goes online and they actually have water in the system, that he thought it'd be about 35,000 shares.
Which is a pretty good price for.
It's less than
water.
CBT, yeah. CBT will never go down.
And does that, purchasing that come out of the water? So we either buy shares or we can buy pipe.
Well, and that's just it. You look at this water fund right now, it will not hold that kind of pursuit.
Right.
Just won't. We barely bring in enough water revenue now just to maintain the system.
Right.
We don't have the money to add in a 14-inch line for water tanks, we don't have money for anything else. So,
That doesn't come
Pickle.
from people's, that's, right, that doesn't come from people paying their water bill, that comes from increased severance tax, an increased sales tax, an increased, you know, and that comes from our capital improvement project.
and I'm gonna,
And we could buy water shares with that money.
I'm gonna go off budget for a
Right.
minute, and I'm gonna show you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would be where we invest in this.
Right.
I
But
wanna-
that's the only thing holding me back from loving your idea, you know, rather than just picking it, you know what I'm saying? Because we have to have that money so we can do these other things to better the future moving forward.
This was almost tree.
I have a dream of putting water infrastructure, you say, because we have a water tank at the top of the hill, right? Why can't we run water to the other side of the hill and have houses have houses on the east of it?
Real windy on that.
We have water at the top of the hill,
Just like
right?
sewer.
You're gonna get, so we build another, you get a,
You gotta take sewer underneath the
you
highway
get
and
a
underneath the
two-wrap,
railroad.
you just build get a two-wrap system. You know, you build a secondary water treatment plant on that side. The developer pays for that in the development that they
Under
build.
metro tax, right?
So keep in mind that when it comes to these big capital projects, when new development comes in, they pay those system investment fees. And those are set aside for those big capital projects. But until you have growth, you're not gonna get system investment fees for that. It's just not gonna happen. So it goes back to the conversation this board has already started, the conversation, having economic development plan, growth. A lot of people, and I'm one of them, like the small town feel, like have my kids in a small town. But these are the conversations where being a small town is gonna hurt you. Because the same people pay the same increases every year. You know, even if we had a 150 or 200 home subdivision, that'd be a huge boost to our local economy. The one-time fees and the annual revenue that comes from the people.
Besides the.
Not expanding crazy like Windsor, no, if it's Barry or Firestone or whatever, but that slow, steady growth.
Yeah, not to mention that it will attract more businesses, right? Because that's what's holding businesses here, is that there's not enough people here.
Yeah,
I mean, one thing anyway.
And we don't wanna get sucked in by Meade and Gilchrist, well, Gilchrist can't go anywhere, Milliken,
Yeah.
sorry.
To me, there's three types of businesses here when it comes to retail. Number one is the businesses like the gas stations that pick up highway traffic. Number two, the oil and gas support service businesses. And number three, the local businesses like Crack Day and Tijuana that the locals love to go to. You might get a few outside people. You know, the car wash, stuff like that. So they're fine being here in a small town. The revenue's influx when oil and gas is doing big, but if it's not, they're still here. So to me, there's three types of businesses. The ones you're gonna increase are the ones off the highway, and we wanna increase the ones from the locals. I'd like to get to the point where we have oil and gas money coming into the budget, we don't count on it, we just put it aside for rainy day. And that's how we built the budget before. So bringing in the 7-Eleven, bringing in maybe a grocery store, selling our lots on Main Street and track a lot B. I reached out to Melissa, her name's Melissa Valstrik. She's the engineer that's working with the Hunter Investment Group. You can Google them. They do development sites for 7-Eleven, Taco Bell, McDonald's, a whole bunch on the website. There's a whole bunch of it they work for on build to suit. I reached out to her and I said, how can I get involved with this? Because the town has some land we want to develop, but we don't want to do it. We want a developer to. So I wrote her a big long email about our land, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to bring in, our daily impacts from the energy park, 1,000, 1,500 employees a day, our generic traffic counts, 85 to 66, and she passed it on to these companies, and I'm hoping somebody will respond back. So we're just trying to promote Platteville. And once we get this economic development plan done, we get that brochure from Cheryl Trent, we need to push that out there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the people I've talked to, like Gary Hendricks and Kurt Hill, that control the land that we want to grow on, we gotta convince them to do something. Easier said than done,
Yeah, really, you'd love to just say, hey, developer, look at this prime real estate that you can just build on, right? And you don't really have that to offer up right now.
No, we don't have enough rooftops for those people to come in.
Well, you
We don't have land.
even to add rooftops, we don't have a place to offer them to build rooftops, really, right?
That was something that, things that small towns used to be, businesses that some small towns used to have, used to be like a drive-in movie theater. Rodeos, like we discussed here before. Some kind of entertainment for the small town that also brings in outside revenue from people coming out of like the big city. They wanna come from Denver, spend some time in a small town. Just things of that nature that try to get people here.
What? What do you think?
Larry's being Larry.
Oh.
Well, roller derby.
It's an
I'd love
option,
to watch
you
that.
can roller skate rinks,
WWE
wrestling.
Bowling.
I hear you.
Monster truck, man.
Okay, you guys are gonna wait.
A shooting range,
Right.
a rodeo, something outdoorsy that brings people
Yeah,
closer.
that would embrace our small town, advertise the
Shooting
small
range.
town, bring people from big towns to come in and experience what small town feel is.
Right.
But you can come spend the money.
We don't want you to stay here.
Right.
Yeah,
Keep your
exactly.
money here, we'll go with it.
Yeah.
Now a bull rider becomes a professional bull rider. When they first start to give us a little leather sack full of marbles, every time they get thrown off the board, they open up the sack and throw one of the marbles. When they throw the marbles there. I agree with that one. All right, thanks everybody, we'll see you next
Thank
Tuesday,
you.
6 Thursday, 6:30.
Try to get my homework.
Thank you. If anybody has any